Hey there, kids. It's me, Oni the Unicorn. And I'm here to tell you that f***ing your dreams ain't cheap. In fact, it costs a ton of cash to do. So that's why me and the Oh No Radio Show need your help. Just go to the website displayed below and hit us up with some cash, yo. $1, $5, $1 million if you have it to spare. Any amount is appreciated. Well, I gotta go because these dreams ain't gonna fuck themselves. See ya!
Oh my God, what's gonna happen? Oh my God! We have a new champion!
Welcome back to another edition of the Oh No Wrestling Podcast, episode 202, and feeling good, pretty good. Matthew, how about you?
I'm feeling pretty good, man. 202, feeling good.
Yeah, man. It's not only just me, myself, your sharp break kid. It is the modern day Maharaja Matthew, as you can hear. But once again, our good brother, Double J Jensen, back in the house. And Jay, thanks for joining us once again.
Yes, hello, it's me, the Double J. I didn't point out the rest of that. It's Double J something.
It's all right,
But
Slapnuts.
It's good to be back. So.
Just say Slapnuts at the end of every other sentence and you're good to go. I mean, even if it doesn't make sense. No, but we've got a hell of a lot to talk about, especially with Forbidden Door coming up this Sunday. I did this again. I'm like, I kind of made plans for Sunday, thinking it was a Saturday pay-per-view, and it's like, AEW, get your shit together. Tell me what day you're doing pay-per-views. Just make up your mind. If you're doing Saturdays, that's fine. If you're doing Sundays, that's fine. Just make up your mind, because it seems like it changes every other goddamn week, doesn't it?
They can't do Saturdays anymore.
Yeah, no more Saturdays.
No more Saturdays because of the new show, which we will talk about imminently with AEW Collision. Yes, it would not make a lot of sense for them to do a pay-per-view to counter-book themselves or kind of program themselves, I suppose. But yes, so it's going to be all Sundays from now on. I didn't even really take that into account. I kind of just had some plans, and so I'm like having to rearrange plans to be able to watch the Forbidden Door live, and I really, really, really want to see this show because I think there's a lot cooking in AEW. Now, we got to start all the way back at last week's AEW Dynamite. I think that's the best place for us to start, seeing as though we're recording this on a Wednesday, about 30 minutes before the next episode of AEW Dynamite. But I gotta say, it's been very interesting, and I want to make I definitely want to do some comparisons here tonight, because I think that there is a lot to compare between this last episode of Dynamite last week and, of course, this debut of AEW's new show with AEW Collision on Saturday. So a lot of people have already made their divisive statements of this show is better, blah, 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 blah. And I can see why it's happening. And without giving too much away about Collision later on down the road, I can say, and I would want to ask you guys if you feel the same about this particular statement, in the fact that they did feel like two incredibly different shows.
Yeah.
They, night and day, felt like I'm not going to say a different product from each other, but they definitely felt like two different directions from one another. Like, anything to expand on that? Or am I just crazy in thinking it's that much different?
I think, at least for me, the biggest thing is that, like, you get a whole different feel with the set design.
Yep.
Which I really like the set design on Collision, but because we've had that same sort of set, like, even though like Dynamite just got the rebranding, but like Dynamite and Rampage have always been the same, right? Because they're running them together. And, you know, even before, we were still getting the same set on pay-per-views, you know, that they had. And so I think visually that helped. I think obviously the commentary team on Collision being different is a great idea.
Yep.
That adds a completely different dynamic to it. But there was a different feel, and I know we'll get into this later, so I'll save comments. But I mean, obviously the Punk thing. But I do think that, you know, I don't know. I feel like maybe they just more prominently showed some wrestlers that we just haven't been used to in Dynamite. So like the commentary, the set, and like some of those wrestlers, you know, Andrade, Miro, things like that, does make it feel different. It makes it feel a little newer, and, you know, yeah, at least that's me, but I'll let you guys chime in there.
Well, the big thing, all of those things are correct. And I couldn't obviously, I mean, those are the real obvious shout outs to things that hit you when you see this new Collision, you know, product being put out there. But the one thing that I felt that was like subtly glaring, if, you know, to use an oxymoron or something like that, right?
Tony Khan had no big announcements.
Well, yeah, there was that. But there was also this change in pace. The pacing between the two shows couldn't have been more different. One was a little bit more traditional AEW in that 10 things are happening at once, and some of them are right after the other, and wow, 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 pow, pow, pow. And then Collision did seem like a more structured show to me. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if that's part of the subliminal nature of what they're trying to do with the direction of that show. I don't know what's going on production-wise behind the scenes. Like, I don't know a great deal about the AEW production team other than they hired that guy from WWE, like, just recently, who was like Kevin Dunn's second in command. Like, I forgot.
You're talking about Jimmy Jacobs?
No, it was a guy before that. He was the guy that, he was the instrumental in that new redesign for Dynamite a few months ago or whatever. So he was like the second in command to not Nick Khan, but Kevin Dunn, right, on the AEW production side. And so I'm wondering if, like, he's handling one side of things and someone else is handling the other directorially, or if he's involved in both from the production side. It's an interesting way to, you know, it's an interesting thing to think about, given the different sort of crews on either side, the different what we've heard about the different creative and production, like, not production teams, but creative teams on different sorts of, you know, brands. And I wonder if that goes even further into, you know, there's different crews, not different crews 100%, but different directorial sort of styles going into that, you know, as well. I felt it from a production standpoint, because I kind of do work in that business and I'm pretty familiar with some of those things. Like, it felt like it was different stage management. It was different, like, someone different was at Gorilla, even though we know Tony's there. But you know what I mean? Like, it felt that there was something creatively different.
Yeah.
And that was, oh, sorry.
You can go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and that's absolutely by design. I mean, Saturday night is a gamble. It's a hard night for wrestling. It's hard enough to put Battle of the Belts on there once every 3 months, but to have a show every Saturday is a big risk. And I think the show is largely designed and structured to help attract new people on board, because you're going to get some new people tuning in that Saturday. Everything from the new theme song, which I thought was just fantastic. The Saturday night Elton John song. Just fantastic use of that. I think everything was designed to kind of get people to be like, "Oh, what's this?" People are flipping through it. It's an easy jumping on point. There was a lot of exposition and kind of explaining who people are and where these people have been, and I really feel like we're going to see in a couple weeks, and maybe a couple months if it kind of keeps that same pace.
It's an incredible experiment, if nothing
Right,
else.
right.
It's an incredible experiment, and yes, I see what they're trying to do. We'll talk about after we talk about the show how we kind of felt to see if that worked or not, right? But that's because you brought it up. We do have to mention straight off the top of the bat, like having that theme song, right? Like having that theme song is such a play, and the way that they did it too, they didn't put that on ads. They've been advertising Collision for a little bit now.
Yeah, they released it the day before.
They released it the day before, and that's a statement. Just like, I think they had those rights locked up, if that's really what you're going for, right? They had those probably sold, like done, ready to go for a while. That wasn't a last minute decision that they finally got Sir Elton to sign a piece of paper. No, that was done. Like, they decided that was purposeful to release it then the night before the show because it makes it feel more special. It also makes Chris Jericho's fucking shoes from Dynamite make a lot more sense.
Right. Yep.
Man, those shoes. Yeah.
Those were Elton John shoes from Yellow Brick Road
Lord.
all day long.
Yes.
And kudos to him for he's the only guy that can pull that off. Let's be real.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah, we got to start with Dynamite, I think. Before we get into Elton John, before we get into Collision, we got to talk about... Sorry,
really
go ahead,
quick,
Matt.
I was going to say, I don't know if you guys were thinking about Pat Buck or Jimmy Jacobs.
Right.
So Jimmy Jacobs apparently started with AEW in DC at last week's Dynamite and is going to be heavily involved in the creative with Collision.
That's a good gut.
And also, but I mean, they're very clear that, and very heavily reported on and confirmed that Bryan Danielson has a lot to do with the creative for Collision.
And that's great. I mean, and like you just said, Pat Buck as well, a guy that's like seasoned veteran that can be behind the scenes and kind of move things like this. These are the key people you want backstage. I think even Jeff Jarrett is a guy that like is probably decent in some of these roles. But Jimmy Jacobs in particular, I think, might be the biggest get, who's probably the most recent out of everyone, right? Like, he was only, what was it, last week or week before?
Yeah,
like,
it was last week's Dynamite.
So he, obviously, we know him from getting fired when the Young Bucks went to, the Elite went to WWE on BTE, right? It was pre-AEW existing, I want to say, or right? I can't remember.
Right now. Before, yeah.
Right.
He took a picture with them and got let go.
Yeah, it got let go because they showed up, faked the DX invasion. So he got fired from there. I believe he's been back to several places, but just most recently he chose to not re-sign with Impact. Did I hear that right? Is that
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So, again, great get. A good guy behind the scenes for them to have. A good guy that can help develop a show. I think you wanted to say something, Jay. My bad.
Huh? Oh, no, I wasn't looking to say something.
Oh, my bad.
Sorry.
But no, we gotta look at it's so easy with this Collision just being so like whoa, there's a lot to digest with this Collision for us to forget how fucking great that last Dynamite was.
That's right.
That last Dynamite is a Dynamite that has been needed for quite a few weeks. And I would even say since the beginning of this year. We've had several good Dynamites this year, but we haven't had one that felt like this in a while. This seems to be a thing with AEW as of recent weeks or months, I'll say. In the early first couple of years, those Dynamites, every single one, even if the whole show wasn't great, gave you one thing, if not one but two things where you were like, fuck yeah, this show rules. Whether it was an angle or a really, really great match, they've been slacking because they've given us so much. It's hard to keep that up. And some of these Dynamites have fell real short in, I think, 2023 and the latter half of 2022. So this is a thing. This to me was a return to old form a little bit. And I think that's almost on purpose as well, because now you have this new thing coming on Saturday with Collision. I think it's like, this is old school. We're going to separate these shows, especially with what we know about the rosters, to the old heart of AEW. The old heart is going to be on Dynamite, you know? Like, this is where you're going to get John Silver on occasion. This is where, like, some of those, like, AEW original guys can come up and be a part of it, and that style. And then Collision can be the other thing that happens, and sometimes those things haven't meshed well on a cohesive episode of Dynamite. This episode of Dynamite felt like the old show.
Mm-hmm.
And to open, especially just with that or not open, but to headline with that MJF Cole match was genius, because it really felt like, we've talked about this, Matthew. Cole needed that big match. Was this Cole's big match for you?
Since he's come back, it was. Yeah.
It was. Since he's come back, this is the thing. Honestly, I think since he's debuted in AEW, if I'm going to go a little harsher than that, I don't think he's had his match as good as this, or even close to it, since he's been in AEW. Oh, my apologies. Something's being stupid.
No, completely agree. I mean, he was on, and I thought it was booked perfectly. Nobody had the thought that he was going to win the championship, although there was a few times there with a couple false finishes where there was a little bit of believability. But I think the way they ended it was the best possible way they could have done that without having him actually take a loss.
Yeah, that was just for a title shot, though.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
But
yeah. Thank you.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that,
which definitely made it more believable that Cole could win. And
then I loved at the end, like, MJF played it great without even having to say a fucking word.
Yep.
Like, Cole's like, 5 more minutes, and MJF just grabs the belt, looks at him, and just fucking gets out of the ring and just goes. He doesn't even have to say a word.
Doesn't even have to say no. It's just, no, I'm not doing that. Because, you know what? If, you really go in kayfabe with professional wrestlers and all this stuff, MJF did his job. He defended his title.
Yeah.
It's not that, like, they're complaining about, like, all the cheating that happened in the match from both of them, by the way. Let's not forget that Adam Cole did some cheating ass shit too. Like, he fucking hit him with a belt. So,
yeah,
all I'm saying is, he has.
That was a good play on the Eddie Guerrero spot, by the way.
It was great.
It was. You see that spot all the time, but I loved how they did it that time.
Well, they twisted it back again.
Backfiring. On MJF.
Yeah, it was smart.
Beautiful.
It was real smart. It was a great way to keep the feud alive, to get them through this next step with Forbidden Door, because they're not going to have this match at Forbidden Door. Dare I say they have it at All In, because it probably could happen at All In, but a lot can happen in between then and now. So at the end of the day, it was the right call. I love that, you've got Cole saying 5 more minutes, and he won't give it to him, because I've even heard thrown around the crazy idea of, what if they do a 5-minute match? That MJF grants him just the 5 minutes, and they have to, because what a challenge for 2 professional wrestlers, right? To make something awesome happen in that time. Like, it is the craziest thing ever. It's probably not a good idea, but still, do I want to see it? Yeah, I kind of do, and still it would have to be the thing where MJF would still have to cheat, even in the 5 minutes. He would still have to cheat some way to win it. And so it could go on to something else. But you could do that, like, stripped for time on a TV episode, but you need to get
he would run out the clock as much as he could. Just walk around the outside
he
of the ring
would probably run in before the match started to
Say start the clock. Start the clock.
Beat down Adam Page, or I
Oh,
mean
Cole,
Adam Page,
yeah.
Adam Cole. He would beat him down outside of the ring during his entrance prior to getting in the ring, so the bell couldn't ring. Then he would do that. Then once they got in and it rang, he would do his classic MJF where he's right about to, and then he just drops down to the mat and he rolls out.
Yeah.
And right, because now the time started and he's gone around the ring.
All right, I'm getting all sorts of like.
Get some updates or
yeah,
what's
it's like
going
a bunch
on?
of updates and shit. I'm trying to figure out
Win
where they're all
player or-
even coming from right now. If I'm being honest with you, so my apologies on that guy, but I do have it muted, so at least it shouldn't keep doing that.
No, I like it. It just I like the sound of it, especially when I'm talking. It makes me think there's people in the chat, and they're liking
They're just
everything I'm
like,
saying.
boom,
There's, I'm,
yeah,
like,
this guy's
boosting my
fucking
ego,
killing
baby.
it. This guy's killing it.
Yeah, he's making great points. Keep talking.
Now I must have got some malware or something, because now I got McAfee trying to like sell me.
McAfee.
McAfee from my Fire. How do I turn off this Firefox?
That's how they get you, man. That's how they get you.
No,
Yeah.
something on the Firefox is going absolutely bonkers, and so I gotta like get
Clear
out
that
of
history,
Oh,
man.
well, I'm Control Alt deleting right now, but you guys, continue. Obviously,
Let's keep
yeah,
going.
Let's keep going.
Jay, do you want to do we want to keep talking about the MJF thing and possibly what could happen? Because I know we're going to end up getting to Collision, but I mean, I think a lot of the general public, from what I've read online, thinks that like maybe what they end up doing at All In is Punk versus MJF, because Punk brought out that red bag, which he didn't pull the title out, but obviously alluded to the fact that nobody took it from him. And I mean, like, they are 1-1. They haven't had a trilogy yet. You could do that trilogy.
I think
that
they're saving
happens.
that. I think they're saving that. I don't think it's yet. I don't think it's All In. I don't think that.
It depends on the crowd reaction to Punk too, I think, because after Chicago, I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see how people in Toronto, well, actually he's not wrestling in Toronto, so it's not gonna matter. It's gonna be interesting to see how
We don't
people
know
are
that yet.
following.
We don't know that yet.
I mean, perhaps, yeah.
Rumor
They've
is
got-
he's going to be
they've
at
got
Dynamite
two-
tonight.
Well, they've technically got 3 shows. I mean, really 2 shows, but they got 2.5 with Rampage to be able to set up an angle with Punk, for Forbidden Door. Now, is it smart to do like on Saturday, announce a match for a show on Sunday? Probably not. But you could do it tonight, and you could definitely set something up that might lead down that road. The thing that is intriguing to me, and I didn't want to hop this far ahead, but of course after it does kind of fit, but we've now got that sort of challenge from Tanahashi to MJF, and MJF saying, "Nah, dog, I'm not doing that. I don't work for that rinky-dink company." I love how he took my fucking phrase, Matthew, from when we did the Southpaw parody. Remember?
Yeah.
He's calling New Japan rinky-dink, just like I called
Rinky-dink.
WWE
Yeah.
rinky-dink back in the day.
Rinky Dink promotion.
Rinky-dink promotion. He's saying the same exact thing. People are loving it. Anyway,
He probably watched that.
he's
He's
watched
probably
my
1,000 of our
promos.
like 60,000 views.
Yeah.
He's watched that.
that's
Yeah.
probably MJF. We know.
Yeah.
Either way, the idea that I've heard is that, of course, MJF just completely says, "No, I'm not doing it." And then since it was supposed to be Punk Tanahashi last year, you have Punk with his velvet bag walk in and take MJF's match and have the match he was supposed to have last year with Tanahashi.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, good.
Right? Like, that's and I also think like there's We're getting too ahead of ourselves because we got to talk about this velvet bag in a bit. But what we need to do is finish up like this, like sequentially what has really happened, because we also then had like the Hungbucks, the Blackpool Combat Club, in an amazing main event, right?
Yep.
Like, to really like, it was interesting the way they had that whole show go, and I'm missing a ton from it because we have so much more to talk about. But that ending to that fucking show, having essentially, so Hungbucks win, right? Now I'm fucking all fucked up in my head. Did the Hungbucks won against the BCC? I want to say, right?
I believe so.
Right?
So yeah, hold on, I have this.
Oh my
pulled up
God.
here.
I know the ending.
There's just so much wrestling on. It's hard.
Because
So
then
here we go. Here, I'll run.
No, the
It was like
Hungbucks
a
won, and
forever
then the
ago.
BCC attacked them after they won.
So here, I'll run you.
And then
I'll
Eddie
run you through it.
Kingston, and then fucking Will Ospreay. and
Page
then...
sent Yuta into the corner with a power bomb into the waiting kicks of the Bucks. Matt Jackson tagged in, used the locomotion Northern Light suplexes on Wheeler Yuta.
Yeah.
Claudio
Zip,
hoisted
zip.
up Matt Jackson, and Mox jumped off the top rope with the Doomsday device. Mox locked in the rear naked choke on Matt. Nick Jackson saved his brother with a senton. Claudio choke slammed Matt Jackson. Claudio sent Yuta flying with the rocket launcher, but Matt raised up his knees. The Bucks had a super kick party for all three members of the BCC. The Bucks sandwiched Wheeler with the BTE trigger, and then Hangman finished him off with the buckshot lariat.
Yeah.
Page pinned Yuta. And then
that's
Claudio
right.
and Moxley jumped back in the ring. They didn't take the
That's
loss lightly.
So I remember that. Yeah. That's what.
Yeah.
That's where I was lost. I'm like, who got the pin? I'm like, it was. I thought it was Yuta that took it, but it was Page with the buckshot in the end. Like it was.
Yeah.
It was all the things, but it was Page with the buckshot on Yuta, which great ending. It was a good match. Like it was crazy. I couldn't remember a ton of that, but hell of a fucking TV match. Like that could have been a pay-per-view main event. But after that, then there's the beatdown, right? With the Blackpool Combat Club. Claudio and John get in the ring, and they're all like, fuck you guys. And they start beating up the Bucks and shit. And that's when Eddie Kingston comes out.
Yep.
Sorry, there's so much that happened in a
So
short
this
time
is-
here. This is I'm trying to remember all the bits and pieces.
So Eddie Kingston's music hits. He returns, sprints to the ring,
It's a
ground
cold
and pounds Claudio.
No.
Yeah,
It's- I
Matt
like
Jackson.
that.
Which I mean, I thought he hated AEW, but he's back.
Yeah,
So,
he's like,
you know,
fuck Ring of Honor, partner. I'm here.
I hate that place. Matt Jackson began to take the boots to Moxley, but Kingston pulled him away. Moxley got in Eddie's face. And then Takeshita sprinted into the ring and hit Kingston from behind.
Yeah, so then we got after Kingston,
Kenny.
then we got Takeshita that came out, and then
And
Takeshita went straight for Kingston, right?
Yes.
And then Kenny came out after that and
Yep.
went straight for
Takeshita.
And then
And then now you've got it.
that's when we got a surprise
And all
Will.
BCC was taken out by
Yeah,
super
yeah.
kicks. And then
And then that's when we got a Will Ospreay
yes.
come out and be all like, "What's up, bruv?" and like be all super mad, bruv, against Kenny. And I remember he did a couple of them fucking elbows he likes to do.
Which side note, I had the random stone thought the other night.
Yeah.
If I got like, it would have to be like a little kind of like maybe like underbite, like kind of like bulldoggy type dog. But if I had a male and I named him Bruv, I
Yeah.
was like, hey bruv, here bruv, sit bruv.
That's a good
I
name.
was like,
Hey,
that'd
bruv.
be a fucking good name for a little dog.
It's a good dog name. Yeah,
Bruv.
yeah.
Hey bruv.
Hey, bruv.
It's from Essex. It's from Essex. Yeah. It's a rough part of Britain. Anyway, though, no, like it was so much that happened, and it's hard to even dissect because obviously we've now got like the whole like the Takeshita thing I get already, right? Because we've got Don, we can kind of leave that out. He's pissed off at the Elite and Don's sending him out to do his bidding. But is he part of the BCC? Is he not? Is Don? Is he not? Like there's that whole part of the story going on. But more intriguingly is what's going on for me with Kingston, the Bucks, and Jon Moxley. And like, because he didn't really want to fight Jon Moxley, but he didn't want to fight the Bucks, but he wasn't necessarily like protecting the Bucks, but he sort of was. Kingston was sort of protecting the Bucks for a second. And that's just so intriguing to me of the possibilities and bits and pieces and moves and like like matches that we can make with all this sort of stuff, because the Kingston teaming with the Bucks and how just annoyed he would get. That's it. Like that's so good. Will Ospreay, I'm glad they did something to kind of further, like, not that they really needed to, but on American television they probably did, to get people to understand like the significance of Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega, and I think it really was another good showcase of Bruvy McBrover's face. He did a good job of bruvin, and let's be honest, like, that match is going to rule. There's nothing more I need to see it.
When you were in Portugal, again, we had Mikey Be Awesome from Ono Radio Show on.
Yeah.
I had him on to do, that non-wrestling fan watched a couple of matches, and I rewatched all of them. And I mean, again, that Ospreay Kenny match from the beginning of this year in
New Japan, yeah.
It's
Tokyo Dome. That's a Tokyo Dome match, man.
Best fucking match I've seen in a long time. And having rewatched it, that's the third time I've watched it. And on that third one, it stood up and captivated me all the way through.
The table spot, that table spot will resonate with me forever, because he doesn't put him through a table.
He like smashes his head into
his
it.
head
like,
smashes.
Pushes his head through.
He's shining.
And then Kenny like puts his head through it, and he's like, ah.
He's shining the table with his own head, and then double shinings. Yes, it's a double shining. I
love it.
It's so good. It's so good. But anyway, that's how like Dynamite went off the air. We don't really need to talk much about Rampage, even though there were a couple of decent matches, which is rare. Bandido and Takeshita was awesome. Unfortunately, it sounds like
Bandido
broke his wrist.
Or something.
And then, wow, the master class. That was Papa Briscoe, Mark Briscoe, Aubrey Edwards.
That's probably the only match that could beat the Omega Ospreay match in my mind.
8 stars. I mean, it's so
8.5, really.
Yeah. Aubrey, though,
what are they?
The next like phenom, in my opinion. She's gonna have a career unlike any other. Stop it now with her. I'm just gonna do it. That's the one and done. Like, no, didn't work, guys. Please don't push this.
I don't know what they're going for with this. I don't know what the end game was, and because it certainly couldn't have been to make Aubrey a wrestler, or get her over, because she's already over with the fans. So I don't understand what the point of this whole.
She won a bet or something. And
I mean, right.
It was sort of fun for what it was, and here's what if it does nothing else, it set up what we have on tonight's Dynamite, which is Jeff Jarrett versus Mark Briscoe in a concession stand brawl.
Yep.
So, like, that alone is going to rule, because it will, that'll be fine. But I did not need to see Aubrey Edwards doing this. I think maybe it's because she's part of that video game too, and it's coming out, and she's in the game pretty prominently. Like, part of me feels like this was part of that, and that you can play as her or something. So they wanted.
I would not be surprised.
It's something dumb like that type of. I don't know. But then we got to get, obviously, from there, like, not much really to add to Rampage. It was Rampage. Although weirdly, this past week did a decent number for Rampage, and they're like, what is that one on? TNT or TBS?
TNT.
God, I always mix
TNT.
them up. So yeah. They're probably.
I don't remember.
No, TBS.
No, that one.
That's where the TBS championship was.
No. I think it's TNT. That's why it's all confusing.
Dynamite.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So TBS is Dynamite, and the other two are TNT, I believe. I think that's the way it's.
That's what it is.
Yeah. And that's was weird about Jade having the TBS always being defended on the TNT. God, I've lost my train of thought there. But either way, we got to talk about Collision, right?
Yep.
Like that's the big thing, and that's the big thing on now TNT. Like, in a Saturday night 8 o'clock position, I had great first impressions. I think we've already talked about that set feeling bigger and bolder and different. I kind of wish at this point they would have just saved like the Dynamite change all for this and kept the Dynamite thing the same. Like have the tunnels on Dynamite,
right,
and then have something different on Collision. Like to me, that would have made more sense. But like that's fine. It did look great. We learned about Kevin Kelly a couple days in advance, but good choice. I was pleasantly surprised with him and Nigel Mcguiness on this show. You?
Yeah. I really liked it, and I think you mentioned something. We were all three of us and quite a few other people were in the chat on Discord. Where everyone should go during pay-per-views, and we get in there sometimes for weekly shows. But Owen, I think you had mentioned it that you liked Nigel Mcguiness being the heel, and I really like that too. And because they do kind of need a heel commentator.
Taz is the closest thing they have to it, but Taz is so likable he can't do full heel. Like he's like because he goes goofy sometimes, right? And he's too likable when he goes goofy. And I don't want to take that away from him, that I don't want him to be just like, he tends to lean towards a heel like performer, but not like Nigel was. Nigel was going straight Corey Graves on it, like, and I think you need that from time to time. I do. I think it's necessary.
They were a commentary pair on ROH for a number of years, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
They work well together. I'm also reminded that Chris Jericho is a bit of a heel commentator when he does.
That's a good point.
Rampage, but he also has the same problem where sometimes he's so goofy and screamy that it's not very heelish. But I mean, every heel commentator has that issue. I mean, Jerry the King Lawler, Bobby the Brain Heenan, who was the best of the best, Bobby the Brain. They were just sometimes just so heely that you just couldn't help but love them. Corey Graves is the only heel commentator that I cannot love.
I go through phases with Corey. I think he does a really good job from time to time. I'm not going to fucking shit on it because to do that job is not an easy job.
For sure.
And I'm not going to go out on that limb. Yeah, like I like others more, but I think Corey does just fine in comparison to a lot of others that I've heard on the indies, for instance, and some of the it's atrocious.
But these two work together, and I don't know if they're going to ever add a third man into the team. I hope they
It'd be
don't,
nice if they don't for once, for a bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, like do what they did with this one, even though it didn't work out great with Jim Ross. Best wishes to Jim Ross. We know. I mean,
it looks rough.
If you haven't seen it, he posted a picture on his Twitter the morning that he was flying out to go do this show of him with a really swollen face and a big black eye. Said he took a fall. But he sounded like shit on the broadcast. He sounded bad. He is
good on him for trying to still show up and do the gig like a consummate professional,
and
but
to
I
also
just feel for him.
And to also apologize afterwards. Like he must have probably like felt it and be like clearly they're like whether that was
like I'm stepping away.
Yeah, I got to step away for a little bit and heal up because that was not good. But I do like the idea, and it doesn't even have to always be Jim Ross. I like the idea that you can pull in a Jericho for a main event on a Collision or like one match at like something like that to make it a special attraction. That's cool. Right. That's 100% what you do. You bring in Daddy Magic. You bring in people that need that sort of thing, like that are good at it. Why not? Like that's 100% what you should be doing. It seemed to do decent numbers, right? Like for a Saturday, what was it, like in the 800,000s?
816, I believe.
Yeah, it's not bad. Well, for Saturday, that's pretty good.
But a .33 share of the demo, which was of the
that's the big one,
which is really big. But I mean, I don't know if it's going to average out to that. I think this is going to be the peak. I bet you we kind of average out down into the sixes with maybe like a 0.25 or something.
I think it's going to be in the fives. I think it's going to be in the fives, the 4 to 5s consistently. If I'm being honest with you, I think it's going to do better. Rampage will do 2 to 3 most weeks now. I think this is going to do 4, 5, 6s. I don't think this gets near Dynamite. I really just don't, because it being Saturday. I think it might for the first couple months, but the Punk allure, just like it did when it was on Dynamite, will wear off once again, and we'll be back right in this same position. So
then what do you do? Is that the time you bring in like a Goldberg? I hate to say it,
no,
and I don't like Goldberg at all, but bringing someone like him in on Saturdays would be an additional boost to having that Punk there.
Okay,
you know?
I don't think the answer is more people at this point, and let's talk about Punk because we're at that point of doing so. Really, we've got to talk about the promo. We've got to talk about what you guys thought, what I thought. We all watched it kind of together, and I think all of us. I don't want to put any words in either your mouths, but I'll say for myself, I thought it was lackluster, and I thought that it was one of his most uncreative promos since he came to AEW. I think that it more or less, when we were getting bored of Punk doing the same promo every week, was just another one of Punk's promos that he did every week. It felt like that to me, except it had a red velvet bag and a pair of shoes dangling over his head, and vaguely, pretty obviously referenced, the Young Bucks and, the situation, shall we say. But I didn't think it was that good. Was that on design in the mission to make him a heel? Thoughts?
Punk, if I may make the comparison, Punk is the Donald Trump of AEW in that he is almost like a cult leader. Like, the people who love Punk are absolutely devoted to him, to the point where Punk could shoot a guy. Yeah, it's a cult of personality. Yeah, exactly. Where Punk could shoot a guy in the middle of 6th Avenue, and they would just love him more. When I went to the show in Colorado Springs, there was a ton of people wearing Punk shirts, and they were loud and proud about it. The people support him, do it absolutely loudly, and they will. And it's funny because it's kind of a slim minority of folks, but when you're in Chicago, Punk could have given the shittiest promo in his life. The people in Chicago would have still made it seem like it was just amazing, because that's the point. And so that might have been by design, because they know that no matter what he does in Chicago, he's going to get cheered.
There's no way he could have done any wrong in front of that audience with that return. And the crowd showed every bit of that. I mean, I don't think I heard much dissension to Punk at all in that audience. I've heard people on other podcasts say that I heard.
There was
I
this
didn't hear much.
Sign guy.
There were definitely boos. They just didn't come through as loudly. I mean, I was expecting 100% Chicago, but if you go back and rewatch it, the crowd definitely drowns out the boos, but there's definitely like a small majority of people.
More than I'm giving it credit for.
I thought it was fucking horrible. I am still not a fan of CM Punk, haven't been. I really hope that he fucking self-implodes and somehow starts talking shit. I hope that he fucking starts running his mouth, and because I think the one thing that's carried him is he's all like, I'm the everyday guy, I'll tell it like it is. I love the fans because you guys do this. Deep down, I don't think he gives a fuck about the fans, and I think during this run at some point that's going to come out. I think everyone's going to be like,
this is it.
Holy shit.
So they're turning that actual thing, which I have believed this whole time that it's all been a charade with CM Punk caring about the fans and being the voice of the people, which has been the whole thing from a long time ago. Like, if you go back to Eddie Kingston saying nobody in this locker room ever wanted you here. Right? Like, it goes into Hangman Page saying what he said about, like, supposed to be like the voice for us. Well, I'm the voice for AEW, right? Like, these are things that people are slowly calling him out on, the hypocrisy of what Punk is. What if it is the last play? What if, like, yes, I do believe that it was a shoot, everything that happened at Brawl Out and whatnot. But what they're doing now is they are subtly now playing into and working us with turning CM Punk heel and using this as the catalyst to do so by making him, because when I look at him and he's saying all these things that people are cheering for, I mean, my wife's the same, that you look at him and you're just like, that is the most punchable face and the punchable expression that I've ever fucking seen. Phil is an obnoxious looking human being a fucking little cock. Like, he is obnoxious as shit. And if he's doing that on purpose to turn himself a heel and to work us all into a shoot, brother, yeah, I know. But if this is a way to get to a fucking Kenny Omega match or something to actually involve one of the members of the Elite, really, it needs to be the Hangman Adam Page match, if you ask me. But if it's a way to get us there, to actually do it, even with the ESPN article, I'll still be pissed, but I'll be okay with it. If this is Phil just being whiny Phil, and we find out nothing comes from this, and it really is that they're never going to work together, right? We're never going to have them in the same building. Like, then at that point,
he's just so, he is
fuck
just
it.
so kayfabe.
Well, I kind of fuck the Young Bucks at that point,
He's
too. Like, I don't know who's at fault, but if you can't just do business and be in the same building, fuck you both.
Yeah, but also, I think one thing that really gets me about it, he does just come off so completely fucking hypocritical in the sense that he like fucking tell me when I'm wrong, tell me when I'm lying. And he's like, he gets angry about people having said shit about him, which he has done, or things he's said. And then he talks shit and he's like, pretends like it's not a deal when he talks shit about these people.
Right.
You know, like he gets mad at them for doing it. Like he got mad at Hangman Adam Page for going into business for himself and making that comment, right? Which I thought completely heightened that whole thing, right? Which was great. But like, then he'll go on and he'll talk shit about wrestlers and he'll talk shit and like he's done it in the ring.
He's
and out of the
hypocritical.
ring.
Yes, he's hypocritical. He's the sort of guy that will. Yes, he's the
He's
crusader.
The Donald Trump of
He
Right.
projects. Man, he's a great projectionist. Dude should work at a movie theater because, man, he projects so well.
This guy though too, he once upon a time said that he hurt a woman they were training, him and Colt Cabana, joking or not, they would hurt her to keep her like, you know, in the ring and stuff. Like, and they might have had sexual relations with her and might have like sort of like mentally and wrestlingly physically abused her on like podcasts. Okay. So when he's saying that he's worried about Hangman Adam Page hurting him in the ring, fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
100%.
Yeah, he hurt himself fucking running down the ramp.
Yep.
God damn it, there he is. Sorry, I have fucking Rampage or Dynamite on.
Yeah, I'll throw it on in the back.
You let us-
So the
she's
Hardy,
showing up
so
on
it was
Dynamite
Hardys
tonight. Wow.
versus Guns, and they were putting on kind of a banger, and then Bullet Club Gold ran out, got involved, and then Ricky Starks ran out and got involved. Then Dax and Cash ran out and started getting involved. And then I could see the crowd. I was like reading their lips. They're CM Punk, and then CM Punk just ran out. And now standing in the ring together is CM FTR and Ricky Starks facing off with Bullet Club Gold and the Guns.
Oh, well, there's your main event match for the end of the night.
Yeah. Guess so.
Man, that match and the show just started, what, 15 minutes ago?
Yeah,
Jesus
Guns and
Christ.
Hardys were actually having an okay match.
Well, that's something. At least we got. So we
Sorry,
know.
I didn't want to really spoil anything, but as we're talking,
no,
like,
because
God
we're
damn
talking about
there
it.
he
It's
is.
not really a spoiler at all. It's as it happens, and we didn't know for sure if CM Punk would be on Dynamite, right?
Yep.
Like, so that's at
So
least.
there's your answer.
It was pretty much.
There's your
I mean,
answer.
the reports I read yesterday and today were like he's going to be.
He's gonna be there,
and
but
Kenny Omega
also,
and the Bucks
yeah,
are not
are
going to be there.
not gonna be
They're going to be in a video pre-tape
package.
thing.
Well, this is my big deal too. They got to figure something out before All In.
Mm-hmm.
They got to all be
they
there
gotta-
for
they gotta
All
figure
In.
something
So,
out,
and they might have to
it-
figure it out before Forbidden Door on Sunday. Like,
yeah, if they haven't had anything figured out, I lose respect for all of them involved. But
correct.
Extremely, because the person who allowed this to happen and made this happen is fucking Tony Khan at the end of the day.
Yep.
And he, because he has such a fucking hard on for CM Punk, can't not do something. Like, you know, he has to do that, I think, because he wants it to be this thing, and he's willing to jeopardize, if he's really willing to jeopardize a lot of people on his roster, and, you know, not just Elite and CM Punk, right? But like a lot of other people who then have to deal with it. That's a really bad boss to cater to one person.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Who fucking talks shit about everyone.
Bang bang gang though. I want them to win this. So that would be good if the bang bang, and they might actually, like that
So what are these? Were we calling them the bullet guns, or
I don't know. Where I'm
maybe, yeah. So it looks like they might be calling it for this collision.
Is that what they're doing?
Oh,
they're
they're
calling
Coming
it
up.
for
Yeah, they're saying
Saturday.
we'll find out if it'll get booked.
That makes sense. That's a good way to do it.
Yeah, keep him out of singles.
So
matches.
well,
I did really hope that he was going to try and jump into the railing or something and hurt his
Oh
foot again.
God.
I hate to wish pain on someone,
but
but
still, it's okay with him somehow. It's somehow
Yeah.
okay. Let's talk. Let's go back, in time to last week's collision, though, even further. And do you think it was the right call with Luchasaurus, winning the TNT title? I thought we all did, right? We were all like,
I think it was. I think it sets up some good stuff. The way Christian
Christian
took it
killed
like his and like got on his shoulders, holding up the belt, like
Your real dad went in there and he was just like, I did it. I did it.
Yeah. I loved that. I will say that was the weakest. Looking back, I was like, oh, a title change. I think at the beginning of that show after Punk, I thought that was good. I think that was the best place for that match. I do think it was the weakest match of the night.
Right.
It was.
Yeah.
But I'm happy with the outcome.
And it was fine. It was fine. It definitely needed to happen. It was I mean, something wasn't clicking with Wardlow. We talked about it the last couple weeks. It's time to move forward with that a little bit and kind of, I don't know, take him off TV, reprogram, getting into something else. But this wasn't working. I think Luchasaurus for a bit, and then a feud with Christian for a bit for the TNT. Like that's fine. Like I'm not even gonna be mad when Christian wins it too. Like
and when
or if he doesn't,
Jack Perry helps Luchasaurus.
Yeah,
comes to his aid somehow. They're gonna get back together.
That'll probably be what happens. And then there was that awkward spot too, where Wardlow looked like he was gonna drop him on his head.
Drop him on his head. He could not. I guess it looked like he just didn't have the leverage at first, and Luchasaurus.
What was he going for?
Dude.
It was he was too.
I
It
thought
looked
for a
like
second
a
he was
tombstone.
gonna, pile
but
driver. Pile driver. That's what it looked like.
He was going for some weird big pile driver thing that he can probably do with a slightly smaller guy than Wardlow, like easy, and it just wasn't working with
and Luchasaurus is too big to be able to fucking.
You could
like,
see him like he adjusted twice. And I'm just like, do something, just get it over with, like get out of there, get out of there.
Lay him down at that point. Don't hurt the dude.
Yeah. It looked like it was gonna get nasty. I was worried about that one, but thankfully, yes, like you said, we've got this Christian thing moving forward. Christian will save it because Christian's promos rule, so I don't need to worry about that. And it's your real dad, so like that'll be good, Matthew.
I'm gonna start wearing cut off turtlenecks.
I told you should.
Yeah,
I told you should.
Maybe next show.
So we got a good one with Buddy and then the return of Andrade, right?
Yes.
This was neat. This was a really good match. This was good, smart booking as well by Tony Khan, not even thinking about it. Like, these guys are going to work really well together. They probably have worked a ton of times together. And like, there's the WWE connection with their wives and the way that they even strung that in at the end was
each other's moves.
Honestly, I thought it was classy as fuck. Like, I thought it was a really classy way for them to both do it, like that was. Now I wanted kind of Buddy to do the Riptide, which he did. Like, I kind of, but that is like that might have been a bit like taking the piss. Yeah. But it was nicely done. It was extremely well
really
done.
it was a really, really good match. I will say I heard this somewhere or read it on Reddit or something. Someone said and I wanted to see what you guys thought about this. Speaking about Collision being different, someone said this is like AEW's detention show.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of the people who supposedly were angry at AEW and had problems, Miro didn't like the way he was getting booked. Andrade had fucking problems. CM Punk's a fucking problem.
Thunder
it's like
Rosa.
all the bad news bears like got their own show.
That makes actually, yeah.
It wouldn't be a bad way if they wanted to even sort of market it a bit like that. Like they need to, they would be smart to lean into that because of CM Punk. They really would. Like that's the way that they should probably work with it. It can work for a little bit to get eyes, but it's probably not like the best idea long term. It was nice to see the return of Scorpio Sky. I will say that. What was he injured with? Don't even remember anymore. Shoulder. Yeah, whatever it was. He's one that I would have expected to turn up on Dynamite, not Collision, but he'll stand more of a chance at standing out on Collision. So I think probably a good spot for him to be. Like I think it seemed like they were really trying to face him up to me. Was that the vibe you got, right? Like they were
totally the vibe I got.
Yeah. Like so that'll be interesting, like to see how that works. I love Scorpio, so more power to him.
And he's got an impressive resume there at AEW alone. I mean, just being the first tag team champion. Didn't he win?
He's got the TNT. He won the TNT.
Yeah. Did he? Yeah.
Yeah. I think he beat Cody for it at one point or something. Or Cody beat maybe
He's a good
Cody
wrestler.
Beat
He's got some charisma. I do like Scorpios. Yeah.
Yeah, because remember he won the brass ring, and that for the TNT. Yep, that was him. And then Miro's return. So I was super stoked to see him. I think we're all big fans, and that shirt was badass. I'm glad you sent us the link to point to how badass that new shirt. Look it up if you haven't.
And you can get it in a tank top. I should note. So.
I'm on the road. Yeah. I'm on the road to that. But I felt like it was kind of a pretty lackluster squash match. Not really expecting too much here, but was I the only one that kind of felt like the reaction was a little lukewarm?
Who did he face again? Remind me.
Well, good point. It was Tony Nese. It was Tony.
Tony Nese.
Oh yeah.
It was Tony.
That's right.
Tony Nese's open challenge that he had offered.
Yeah, he came out.
So he came and accepted it.
Stop the show so everyone could work out. He did that at a taping actually, and had people kind of going up and down in the stands. It's kind of funny.
Credit to Tony Nese, by the way. Credit to Tony Nese, because on Twitter the next day, he's like, the only promo everyone on the internet was talking about, and it's him from the last night on the same show as CM Punk. Funny. Like, yeah, come on, yeah.
I will say, there's Papa Briscoe.
Oh yeah, this is. I wanted more concession. I wanted more concessions in this, but it's still looking like fun.
Some of the females working the concession who getting involved and like
they're throwing
they
shit.
Were hilarious. They're like, oh my god,
no,
throwing the popcorn and water bottles.
Oh yeah. That's back in the ring now, Jay, but it's okay,
I will say I think Miro got an okay pop. I think granted I agree, I think maybe it could have been bigger, but I
felt
think
like Andrade's was bigger.
Even at I think you just kind of like knew Miro was going to be there, because he, like, weeks before when they released the intro, you saw him and Joe like prominently featured in that Collision intro, and so
when he went into Tony's office and shit, right? Like yeah. So they've already established he's there, and maybe that like pulled it back a little bit. That could be the case.
But I think even at the end though, like you saw him, he stayed in the ring for an extra little bit, and he was like getting the crowd. He kept like going like that, like keep going. I think he's like show like Tony that you want me.
it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him, though. Like, that's like the real big question, because I can see them doing a few weeks of squash matches with him. Like, why not, right? With some lower mid-carders, like reestablish the dominance of the Redeemer, all this. But
what's he been searching for, and when is he gonna like he needs an actual something that he has an eye on that he's working towards, you know, as opposed to I get a couple squash matches. I'm okay with that.
I think he should be the one to take it off Cassidy. I think he needs to be the one to take it off Orange Cassidy. They already have some history, and I think that the international title should end up on Miro.
That is a really interesting thought. I like that.
That's the way I would go with it, but you know, who knows?
Yeah, I don't hate it.
Otherwise, you have him maybe going after Luchasaurus, but I don't.
I want him to eventually.
You'd have to sacrifice one of them, and I don't think that'd be a good time to do that. So.
Yeah,
Cassidy needs to drop it soon too. Cassidy.
He had the TNT title, didn't he?
Yes, he's already had TNT. So to have him have the international. And then you do like him and Pac or something later down the line. I mean, as two heels, but there's stuff I think Miro with that international title works for me. And again, probably a little bit because he's from Bulgaria. That would also kind of help. Like if you're doing shit overseas, you eventually can have a Brit like win that hell, at All In, maybe even have a quick switch to Pac. You know, because of that, like there's things you can do, but yeah, I don't know. I'd
love it if Pac came back and he was like a goofy, silly face.
I want him to be that. I want him come with
his hair's cut.
Yeah, kind of like Jack Gallagher, like back in the day. You know.
Yeah.
Oh God, Gentleman Jack.
It's a shame he ended up being such a twat, and a sex pest, because we met him, we got pictures with him, and I used to love that goddamn umbrella spot.
Yeah, I did too.
Is that the one where you tie the person up in a little package and then just sit there and
he would float down like goddamn he would do a leg drop with an umbrella open like Mary Poppins and shit.
I feel like when we were in the Elimination Chamber with him and Tozawa, you know what? I think Gumption Junction could have taken the team of Tozawa and Gentleman Jack in the Elimination Chamber.
Oh yeah,
we should have
done it. We should have challenged them right there. We were right there. I'd be more scared of Tozawa than anyone, honestly. Tozawa is scary.
He's a scrapper. He just runs around. And he's got a lot of energy. You just got to wear him out.
So we got a thing on last week's Dynamite where they announced the Owen Hart tournament, and then we got a couple vignettes throughout the show. It seems like the two they're leaning on hard here for us to probably get to the finals, I think, are Starks and Hobbs, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what very quickly it seems like. That's okay. So that's the finals. Like, I hate how it can be that predictable sometimes, but like I unless you give me a lot of other, it's gonna
like the WWE World Heavyweight Championship
kind
bracket.
Of, yeah, kind of exactly. So to me, I would go Starks on this one, but I wouldn't be mad if it was Hobbs. So as long as it's one of the two of them, I'm good. You guys get any others you want to throw in that tournament just for shits and giggles?
No, I actually think it has to be one of those. They both are in desperate need of something. They've kind of tried over and over again to push these guys and to do something fun with them. And they get the crowd behind them, and then they kind of lose some of that momentum. So I would love to see either of these guys take it. I would love to see a situation where it's such a good match that the person who loses it still comes out of it, winning, and that's what I hope they do if it is the two of them.
Yeah, use it as a whole other platform to elevate both of them.
Yeah.
Do you keep guys? I've said this before. They're gonna turn. I claim they're gonna turn heel on Daddy Ass at some point, or does Daddy Ass turn on them? And it's gonna be so sad when either one of them happens.
But it's going to happen at some point, but I still don't think it's going to be soon. The amount of merchandise these guys sell,
they're moving them scissors,
is just insane. I mean, just insane. And they're little kids dressed up as Max Castor. Like, it just, And like I said, I saw him scissor a baby, which was just a beautiful thing.
I gotta tell you something, and I don't say this much, but I think I might have said this on the podcast actually, but a while back when we were doing the dark elevation tapings at Universal, Acclaimed were there. I took Teresa, my wife, to see it, and she straight up said, when he first came out, oh, he's cute.
Max?
Yep.
Or Daddy Ass?
Max. So, like, instantly, they've got that part of a demographic, too. And then and then you have an attractive, like, gay man in there. Like, it is probably the most marketable team of all time. Like it's goddamn close. So you're right.
I mean, the fact that they got that over, the fact that they got Scissor Me Daddy Ass over, is just insane to me.
I heard babies are doing it now, Jay. I heard babies are doing it.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's like if you're watching it and a family member walks in who does not understand the context of wrestling at all, you'd be like, oh no, just I gotta explain this. And even after you explain it, it just wouldn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
But it's amazing that it got over, and I give them a lot of credit because also too, I mean, that's the AEW original team. That team was put together in AEW.
We need more of that. We need more of that.
And it's a good thing. And I thought the rap was a little tame this time around.
It seemed like he was on his best behavior.
Yeah, he said something about Donald Trump in documents, and that was about it. But the rest is pretty complimentary, if I remember.
Yeah,
so
it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't super like a super dig like it has been in the past. I get that. Either way, we got to get into the main event of the show, and everybody's wondering, of course, how's CM Punk gonna do in the ring? Is he gonna get gassed? Break another thing? Is he gonna pull another thing off a bone or whatnot? That's what I was thinking. And then we got some Samoa Joe. I'm wondering, is he gonna get gassed? Is he gonna break a thing? Is he gonna I hope that doesn't. So I'm wondering about that. And then we got Jay White and Juice Robinson over there for reasons, that no one has ever established why CM Punk and
I forget who said it in the group on the Discord, but they said they're like, this does nothing for Bullet Club Gold.
Not
why
really.
Are they in there?
Not really.
They weren't featured in that match.
Other than exposure, right? To a lot, other than exposure, getting them in a lot of people don't know Jay White. A lot of people don't know Juice Robinson. So we're using the Bullet Club name, which they might have heard of, but now we're tuning into a match with CM Punk, and he's against these Bullet Club guys. It might get them that attention. And FTR are the right to, of course, to be with Punk, to babysit him through the match. It was a good match. I can't knock the match.
Yeah, it's a good match.
No, it wasn't Punk's good match.
They didn't need to have it. They could have totally just had Punk come out and talk at that show, and the people in Chicago would have been just as happy. In fact, it was almost a give me that they lost. Because next Saturday should have been Punk's first match back. And whether it had been the tag team, or whatever, that would have given them a boost on Saturday as well. And he's probably going to wrestle again on Saturday, and it's just going to be like, oh, yeah, it's just Punk again. So.
Everyone else looked great. You know who, if I'm anyone, I'm involved in that match. If I'm Samoa Joe, I might actually be a little bit pissed. Because you gave away something that was such a long legacy thing on TV, kind of for nothing. They had their moments and they were great, but they were fleeting. That was not like that. Punk and Joe had the final death rivalry, crazy ending.
AEW thinks they teased it.
I hope so. I feel like that they come back to that. I really do. I think they do. But if I'm Joe, I'm a little bit I would be a little bit. I think if I'm the happiest out of all of them if I'm Juice Robinson, because Juice Robinson looked like $1,000,000 in that match. I don't know if you noticed that, and his selling was great. He was hilarious. And
he
like
sells
just
funny.
he is just whatever he's doing right now, he is locked into it and needs to continue because it is tremendous. Whatever, like he is more engaging to me than Jay White, and I know that Jay White is the better professional wrestler, if really. But I'm watching for Juice. Like, and Juice ends up taking the pin, to Punk. But I think Juice ends up looking the best out of all the match. Jay looked great though too. And there's a lot that they can do if the rumors are true with Jay White and with CM Punk and Bullet Club and what have you. So I don't hate it. I didn't hate it, but it's also like you said, did they really need to do that match? No, they probably didn't. I mean, and FTR looked fucking awesome as usual.
I think it's to protect Punk.
Yep.
Oh, of course.
Let him
was.
wrestle a bunch
100%.
of single matches right now, especially before all these pay-per-views come up, which again makes me think that maybe he won't do anything at Forbidden Door, right? Again, like
can you imagine putting him in with Kenta or something? They would just totally.
And Kenta after Collision once again tweeted it's not happening.
See, that makes me think it is happening though. That makes me that's total. Right. I don't know. I think they're working the shit out of that. I can see it still happening.
They don't have a lot of time unless they just throw it. But whatever. I don't know. I will say Punk,
it would be tomorrow.
What I do fucking hate is Punk. The GTS looks so shitty when he does it every time. It has forever. It just doesn't look fucking good. How can you not be good at your one move?
I don't think he can do it safely in the same way that Kenta can, and we've seen other Japanese superstars can that wrestle in that strong style, that know how to take that style of bumps. I think he wrestled in the WWE system for too long that it's impossible for him to do it. I mean, was Kenta, it was even a miracle they allowed him to do it on occasion. So they let Punk do it, but it always looks soft there too. It's not the same. And there's other guys that do it in New Japan. Kenta technically invented it, but I've seen it done by so much better by so many other people. If I'm him, I make the Anaconda Vice he uses. There's another term. He's got a submission hold that he's been using. I think it was, he's got the Pepsi Plunge. Probably not do that. You're old. But you could. But he's got other moves that he can use, right?
Yeah.
And kind of move away from that, especially if you do get that match with Kenta, retire it there. Do the go to sleep off, and he's gonna win. He's not gonna let Kenta win.
I don't think that match is gonna happen. That's just me though. I will say there was one move. I forget who it was. It wasn't in this match. It was in one of the previous ones. So I don't know. I don't think it was Miro. It might have been Luchasaurus or Wardlow. But one of them did a move and it looked exactly like Jinder Mahal's fucking finisher.
His shitty rock bottom thing that he does.
And I was like, it's a swinging one.
It was the Colossus.
Jinder Mahal could never make that look good either.
Yeah, the Colossus. That was Jinder's. Yes. Don't you speak? Don't you hinder the Jinder? He's.
I don't. You were the one saying that you liked the new guys that he's managing, and I was like, no, I want Jinder getting another run, doing things. So.
Ender Shear? Oh,
Ender Shear.
Man, they just look like they cook really good curry. And
Dude,
I just want it. I want
to travel. I'd love to get in the car and travel town to town with those guys.
Yeah, those guys are they're the best. They're the best.
Go ahead, sorry.
Wait, do you think they talk shit about Veer?
Oh yeah, they don't like him.
They're
like he never shows up.
Never shows up.
Where is he?
We've been giving him directions every time we go. We're dropping pins. We're saying, he just can't fucking get here.
And they secretly they pretend to like the Great Khali, but none of them really like the Great Khali.
No.
Wasn't it with Jinder? Wasn't it the Great Khali when Jinder won the title, like the Great Khali, like snatched
And
it from him
took the
and
title
like
and was
took it
holding
like
it
it
up.
was holding it to get the photo, so he looked like he won it. Yeah, good job, Great
Oh
Khali.
man.
Yeah, that's the thing to happen. Do you want to do very quickly before we go to break? Why don't we do this and then we'll come back with WWE stuff and some other just random stuff. But why don't we do the predictions real quick now, since there's not many matches? Like it makes more sense to kind of do that because it's an AEW pay-per-view. And realistically, there are only 4 matches that are currently booked, right? Unless they've booked one tonight for Forbidden Door. Like since we've been on air, have they? Is it still just the 4, Matthew?
Yeah, I think it looks like it's still just the 4.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what we'll do is we're gonna do 2 hypothetical matches because I think they're gonna be booked by the time the show's on. That hypothetical match would be Zack Sabre Jr., Orange Cassidy. I think that match is going to probably happen. But then we'll just throw in another hypothetical of Punk and Kenta, because those would be the 2 matches that I could see not being on the card being added currently. There's probably going to be something with Jericho and some other bullshit, but
yeah, maybe the only other way that you do it is like you kind of mentioned it earlier, and this is how you would get Punk to MJF for like an all-in is like MJF. He's alluded to it. He doesn't show. He's been known to not do that before, and he said no.
Do the Tanahashi thing.
If he doesn't, and then Punk comes out and he's like, I beat him. You should have been challenging. I still, I'm coming after you. Like, you could do that, and you could easily get into that storyline to get
Well, we can't. All right, let's not do that one then, because that's too complex. We'll just start at the top, and what we know is definitely going to be happening. And we do know for sure that we've at least got Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay for the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship. And this would be the rubber match, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Kenny took it off Will in the last meeting at the Tokyo Dome.
I think this is where Ospreay takes it back.
Oh, this is Will all day. This has got to be.
Kenny puts him over. He takes it, and he gets exposed even more so to a larger American crowd in a headlining match with Kenny Omega.
So we're all Team Bruv on this, right? I mean, this seemed
Bruv.
like a pretty obvious one to me. Now this one a little less obvious. And we got to think of the dynamics too, right? Between New Japan, AEW, we've got to have kind of like a tit-tat balance a little bit, right? Like you've got to, I'm not saying it has to be 50-50, the AEW guys win, the New Japan guys, but you want to probably keep it somewhat close to that. And this is where it gets weird for me, because Danielson, Okada, I really can see going either way.
Mm-hmm.
But
and it's going to be a banger either way.
But I'll go first, and I'm gonna call it out because I don't think Danielson has a problem losing, and that's why Okada wins this match. But I think it's the first of many.
I'm with you. I was going to go that same way.
Same thing I was going to say.
Yeah, I think the next match that you're going to call is pretty easy to call too.
So Sonata and Jungle Boy Jack Perry, it has to be.
Sonata. It's not. Jack Perry is not winning.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine them doing that? That would. The ball's on New Japan if they ever did. But no, that's a.
Yeah, maybe Jungle Jack Perry is really over in Japan, and we just don't know.
I don't think he is. It's Sonata. It's Sonata on that one, right?
Yeah.
Across the board. All right. And then we got MJF against Tanahashi, which it's got to be MJF.
It's got to be
MJF.
It's got to be MJF. And in the weird case that's, something pops up, feel like you get, CM Punk would still win it if he stepped in for MJF. So you still get the same result. Like,
exactly.
Love Tanahashi, but no, it's not going to happen. Do we want to vote on Zack Sabre Jr. or Orange Cassidy? Because I really think that match is happening.
If that happens, it would be cool to see Zack Sabre Jr. take it.
but he won't, and it's Orange Cassidy that will win that match.
I'm gonna go with OC as well.
So I'm gonna, since we need to be different, I'm gonna go
SSJ?
Yeah, ZSJ.
ZSJ, yeah. ZSJ on that one. The only other, the random match that I thought that could possibly happen, that it's sort of a New Japan match. We talked about it a little bit in our Discord, but having Tony Storm defend, or one of the belts defended, right? Like Tony Storm versus Willow. Like there's a way that you could do that, seeing as though that Willow has the New Japan Strong Championship.
Yeah.
Like they've kind of been setting that up. Well, they've been kind of half setting that up. You could maybe do Ruby. Yeah, it would probably be Ruby. In which case, Willow, just win.
Yeah, just win.
Yeah.
Well,
does it have to be someone you'd have to be able to sacrifice to Willow? I was thinking you could do a returning Thunder Rosa as a surprise, but then she'd have to win. So
yeah,
so it's not.
You don't think we could get Jericho on the card at all?
He's on the card. I definitely think he's going to be on the card. He's going to be in a 4 or 6-man or 8-man. Like they're going to do some Jericho Appreciation Society versus Chaos or something thing. Like they're gonna,
okay?
That's what I think. They're going to do something. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet with Jericho, and they're.
I was wondering if tonight they're gonna do like.
Well, literally, he's in a match. He's in a match
he's
right
in a
now.
match with Suzuki right now.
Yeah.
He's on
With
his team,
Suzuki.
so I've been thinking that like maybe something happens and they get into it in
And
this
it's
match.
Jericho
and then you do
Suzuki?
Jericho Suzuki.
Because I'd love to see that. I think we've seen it before, but God, I'd love the chops in that one. Oh
Yeah.
God, dude.
I also don't think it's out of the question that you 100% like need all the matches to be a New Japan team or a New Japan guy against a AEW guy. It's better if it's like that, but I still think you can throw in just an AEW standard match. So I think that we're at the point that realistically we could do, if you wanted to, you could just do Sammy and Jericho at this pay-per-view, because I don't think you need that for All In. But maybe that's what he wants for All In. I don't know. But I think it's but I think it's Jericho Sting at All In.
Yeah, that would be good.
So or Jericho, somebody, probably Garcia versus Darby and Sting at All In. Like that would make sense to me. So I don't like, so you could, and they're building this thing with Sammy, so why wouldn't you could do that? I don't know.
Have we ever had Jericho Sting? Has that ever been a thing?
It's never happened.
No.
It's apparently never happened.
Okay, well,
never happened. That's why it would be. That's why you save it for All In. Like, and it could be. It's realistically the way you probably do a Sting retirement match at Wembley. You know, like.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
I was gonna say before we finish it up, even though this isn't an actual prediction, but so let's say Punk and Kenta's out. Punk MJF shows up and and wrestles. So if there was anyone else that Punk could wrestle, the only two that I can kind of think of are like Tama Tonga maybe, or like Naito.
Ishii.
Yeah, Ishii. That's a good call.
That. It wouldn't resonate well enough. Did you say Naito? Did you say Naito?
Yeah.
Yeah, Naito would work.
Naito or Tama Tonga is like the only thing I can.
Yeah, I wouldn't even do Tama Tonga though. I don't know.
I don't know. None of it excites me, but
not really. I think that's why. I think that's why you do Kenta or you do the Tanahashi thing. Like it's probably better that way. I don't know. Seems about right to me. We do have to just like quickly, because we're watching it in the background. I know you saw this, Matthew. Did you see Don Callis looking sexy in black leather jackets with the BCC and Takeshita?
And Takeshita's like his eyes, like the way he was giving like crazy eyes.
So I don't know.
I liked it.
I don't know what they were talking about, but it seems like something like pretty fucking serious is going on there. And it does tie into, of course, stuff that maybe we don't know. Maybe it's nothing to do with it, but Don Callis says I think he said this on Twitter or in an interview earlier today, I'm going to have a big family. I'm going to have multiple family members, and they're not just going to be anybody. They're going to be the types of athletes like him, Takeshita, that are on the same level or higher than Kenny Omega, and we're going to take care of business. So I don't know that it is the BCC, even with what we just saw, but it still makes me feel like he's building a stable and being that rat Don Callis is, huh?
Anybody you put with him is going to get elevated because Callis is just great. Because you see, there's a new on his entrance screen. There's a new Photoshop of him and Tanahashi on horses. It's like the
Takeshita.
There's that. Yes. It's like the one of him and Omega where they're photoshopped on.
Oh yeah, he had it last week.
Yeah.
Now they're like gallantly on horses.
On horses, yeah.
I
just love it, man. I love it.
It's great.
Give me more of that.
It was on Jericho's podcast that he said that him and Takeshita were on there. I will say right now, Jericho did just call out and Sting just came out. So he said a 6-man tag. If Sting and Darby can find anyone to team with them to go against Suzuki, Sammy, and Jericho
at Forbidden Door.
That's what he just said.
All right, so there we go.
And Sting and Darby just came out. So who do you think?
Who does Sting and Darby pull in there?
Yeah.
Oh man. I hope. What if it's
Goldberg.
Danhausen? Bring me Danhausen.
Nick Gage.
Nick Gage. Yeah. I'm like racking my brain thinking who.
Now, the smartest thing that they could do right now
is Darby even.
Okay, all right, serious. The smartest thing that they could do right now is to be Sammy, and he goes to the other side, and then Jericho has to find somebody, because
I think that's too soon for what they're doing.
Probably, but
because they just started doing the Sammy Jericho reconcile, but we were mad at each other thing like last week.
Well, it's got to be a New Japan guy then, I guess, right? Because you have Jericho versus Sting, Sammy
and
versus
Suzuki's
Darby,
in there.
Suzuki, so it's got to be. Who is it? Who's no neck guy? Oh God,
Ishii.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we'll see. So. All right, so
they could make me the happiest man in the world and put Maki Ito there, even though she's not.
Oh, that'd be great.
She's more Ring of Honor, but I would just hardest head in the world. She'd kick some ass.
Yeah,
and you know what? She'd have so much fun. Jericho would have so much fun. Like, oh god, that would be hilarious. Shut up! Like, I could just hear it.
Right here.
Are we gonna find out? You think? Or are we? We're still.
You just keep saying who it is. Who you got?
Who you got? Oh, yeah.
Are they not? We'll find out at Collision.
Oh, we're gonna find out at Collision. Oh, boo. Jericho is mad.
This is how you tell good stories between the two shows to keep people, and so it isn't a hard split. It's you're keeping the stories going on both shows.
It's not a bad idea.
I like that.
It's not bad. It's a good concept. It's a good concept.
I like that. So,
and you know what? Something fun will come out of that. Oh, now we're gonna we'll get into that in a bit, maybe after the break, because it is about that time. Let's take a little bit of a break. We'll come back, since we've already done predictions. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more AEW. Of course we will. We'll also be talking a little bit about the week in WWE. And boys, is the bloodline over? Is it? What are we dealing with here? As the last, I mean, how long do they now keep it going? It's
just blood now.
I don't know. It's like part of me wants it to end, but at the same time, I feel like WWE ends with it. So,
in the infamous words of Triple H, stories are never done in WWE.
That's a good point.
And he said this was just the very start of a very long book. It was the first chapter. Which, it's the long fucking book to get through.
Sure is.
If that's what you're doing.
Fucking War and Peace over here with goddamn Samoans. Like, is that was...
Man.
Yeah. Guys, we'll be back with a little bit more Oh No Wrestling in just a few minutes, give us 5 to 10 on the Twitch stream, twitch.tv/ONRS Live. Of course, that ONRS stands for Ono Radio Show. You can check that out every single Thursday, except when it's not, over at OnoRadioshow.com or wherever you find your podcast, and of course, this Twitch stream. Thanks for tuning in to the first segment of Ono Wrestling, OnoWrestling.com. If you want to donate a couple extra bucks, back. Second segment of the Uno Wrestling Podcast. Man, we got Dynamite on in the background here. And I just heard some huge news coming up for, the future. Seems like they've got this blind eliminator tag team tournament. And it seems like they're going to be putting MJF and Adam Cole together in a tag team. And seeing what happens. So that's
okay.
That's something that's going on right now.
That's a classic WWE storyline right there. Will they get along? I don't know. That's crazy. I wouldn't have thought they would have done that, huh?
I actually don't hate it. I think this one is a step above the typical WWE storyline, scenario of do they get along, because this is also two guys that you get to sort of see interact when you know that later down the line there's going to be another big title match. So it kind of works for me. I think that there's a lot they can play with here with two of the most charismatic guys on their microphones working together. So hell yeah, I'm kind of into this. As much as it seems like a cheap, easy ploy, maybe this will work out. I got a good feeling about it. That's all I'm saying, because I can see them weirdly in the ring really working well together, and they're gonna MJF's gonna hate that he likes working with him. Both of them are gonna hate that they're good together, that type of thing. So
that would be a good story to tell.
I think there's gonna be something there. I think there's gonna be something more to it, because the best part about this as well is Tony Schiavone. These guys are yelling at each other about their previous week on Dynamite and how they didn't finish the match in 5 minutes and all this stuff. And Tony Schiavone just straight up stands up. Guys, we just picked out names. Both of them turn and say, "Shut up, Schiavone." Leading back to the fact of when Adam Cole was a heel and Tony Schiavone and Adam Cole did not get along.
Yep.
It's all, everybody knows how Schiavone's, of course, not going to like MJF, but don't forget, he's not supposed to like Adam Cole. Adam Cole was mortal enemy for the longest time. So I'm glad they kind of kept that alive, even though Adam Cole's the face. So I don't know, interesting development. We'll see what works with it. We'll see if it does work, in fact.
Yeah. So what do you, now that I'm seeing the bracket though, for the Owen Hart tournament,
I didn't
is
catch
that
it.
how how we end up getting Punk and Joe? So here's the bracket: CM Punk versus Satoshi Kojima at Forbidden Door this Sunday. And then you have Roderick Strong versus Samoa Joe at the Collision on June 29th.
What was the first match?
CM Punk and Satoshi Kojima.
And they're doing that at Forbidden Door.
It says Forbidden Door.
Well,
this Sunday, Toronto, Ontario.
Okay, weird.
And so they're all on the same side. That's the one side. It's CM Punk versus Kojima, and then Roderick Strong versus Samoa Joe.
Okay.
Then on the other side, you have Dustin Rhodes versus Powerhouse Hobbs. And then you also have Juice Robinson versus Ricky Starks.
Starks Punk final.
Yeah.
Starks Punk final.
No, I'm going to go Roderick
or
Strong,
Hobbs.
Dustin Rhodes.
Okay, well, it's either that or Hobbs. It could be Hobbs and Punk. They've talked, I remember it being a thing that Hobbs, Punk loved Hobbs, and they were working a lot.
Did they not wrestle
together.
once when Punk first came in and he went through the
Yeah, I think they did. But I think they'd be smarter to do this with Starks. So I'm gonna go Starks Punk is that final. And you know what? If you're smart, Starks wins.
Yeah.
That's what you probably do.
Yeah. You guys want to know the bracket for the women's?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So on one side, next Wednesday on Dynamite, you will have Dr. Britt Baker versus Ruby Soho.
Okay.
Then on the same side of that bracket, this Friday, you will have Anna Jay versus Sky Blue. Then on the other side, you have Nyla Rose versus Willow Nightingale this Saturday on Collision. And then at Forbidden Door, you have Athena, or on 0 Hour for Forbidden Door, you have Athena versus Billy Starks.
Okay.
All right. So we still don't have a women's match on the main card for Forbidden Door then.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we will. And we didn't last year, did we?
Might not. No, probably didn't. Probably didn't. Unless it. No, we did. It was an AEW only match.
Was it?
Was Tony Storm and someone, I want to say. But it was it Rosa? It might have been Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think
was.
that sticks in my head, but they did have a women's match on the main card, but it was a AEW only match, I want to say.
It was I'm not from 2022 Forbidden Door. I'm not. Oh, yeah, Thunder Rosa and Tony Storm.
There we go.
Was it? Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah.
But it was main card, right? Does it say pre-show?
It was main card.
It was main card. Yeah, I thought so. I thought they had at least one.
It was in between the Dudes with Attitudes, which was Darby, Sting, and Shingo versus Bullet Club, El Phantasmo, and Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson.
Which just reminds me of missed opportunities in the Surf Dudes with Attitudes, by the way.
Yeah.
Like from Southpaw. Like that's if they would have only made what were their names? Begin with an A. The Acolyte. No, not the Acolyte. No. That one of them's in TNA now for sure.
Oh, the Ascension.
The Ascension.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Ascension. The guy who was always about the cheese.
Yeah.
They were the Surf Dudes with Attitudes in one of Well,
That's right.
Yeah, they were great.
Victor and
Yes, Victor and the other guy. Yeah, Victor with the long hair, and then I like the other guy more. I like the other guy more with the mohawky thing, whatever he.
is your guy Greg?
I don't know.
remember.
Good old Greg. Yeah.
Victor and Greg.
Yeah. Something.
There we
like
go.
that. Yeah, those guys. They were great. Anyway, we did have a lot more to talk about just in the world of professional wrestling because I don't know if you guys heard of it. Like, I know AEW is a big deal, but there is this other company. It's called WWE, and it's like apparently like a big deal. Like, it's been around for a while. And those guys, man, they got some things going on over there. Boy, oh boy, they got them stories. Just a cooking. I mean, by stories, we mean like there's been a story that's been cooking. There's a story that's been, pretty prevalent over the last 3 years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I mean, that was when the J.
You're talking about the Alpha Academy and. Yeah.
I was actually going to talk about Jinder and his kind of like, or what's his face that can't ever show up on time to any place.
Veer.
Veer. Veer's story's about 3 years too.
That story has been going on for a while.
Yeah.
Yep.
But no, we do need to talk about the bloodline and what's been going on recently with that. Obviously, we've had, all the developments, the soap opera that has been that since the beginning. And to be honest with you, I've been hook, line, and sinker for most of it. It's been pretty damn amazing. It's time. It's time to put this thing to rest. And I think at least we've got like the beginning, the final beginning of the end, or the end of the end of the end of the beginning, or however you want to fucking classify it. But it seems like we did something on Friday, right? Like
definitely turning corner, definitely rounding third base here. I feel like
right. So what did you think of how that whole thing went down?
I thought it was great.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's hard not to like.
I loved it. It was great storytelling, and they had you up to the last moment when Jay was like, you know, you're out, yelling and screaming at his brother, and he's like, and so am I. And, you know, providing that kick, I thought all of it was well done. It is kind of like an apex in that story now that they have both finally turned on, you know, Roman. They've both gotten, you know, kicks in.
The line was good too. What was the line? The big line. It's like, you know, it's like if I'm out or I'm not out.
No, he said
he said it. Yeah.
He said you're out, and he's like because he was like, he helped me, he got me main event Jey Uso, blah blah. You did nothing, you like lied, blah blah blah. And he's like so you're out. He's like, and he's like screaming at him like he's on.
And I am too. And
then he's like staring at me. He goes, and I am, and so am I. And then
so
just hit him with the kick.
Yeah, that was a good moment.
Roman used one of his belts to kind of block it. He's carrying 3 now,
yeah,
so
exactly.
I don't know why you brought a new belt in if you're carrying
just...
the other 2. Like that, like for as good as the storytelling has been, and even though some of it has been quite egregious and a little long-winded, but like. It's gotten way nuts with the belts and like what they're doing.
What?
It's just like why that makes me even think that that's less important now too.
Yep. Like, because it still makes me think that those other belts are like exist kind of like,
yeah.
If Paul Heyman's walking around with 2 and you're walking around with, well, I don't know. Like, and
like,
they're always in the camera. It's not like it's a mistake. It's not like it's a mistake or it's just a thing for entrances. No. In every backstage shot, they've always got the 3, right? Like they've got 3 belts like hanging out there, or Roman's got 1 near him and there's 2 back behind him or something like that. There's always this thing going on. The lineage of this shit is ridiculous. Like, are we just now, okay, so I feel like we invented a 3rd universal title.
Yep.
Is that what we did?
I don't feel like it's by accident either. I feel like they're purposely trying to make these title or this champion look like the better champion of the 2 shows. And it sucks because it's at the detriment of Seth Rollins and his title. If Roman Reigns were to show up next week and just have his 1 title, I don't think anybody would question it.
No,
I don't think anybody would care, and everybody would just like, yeah, that makes sense. But the longer we go, then the longer he keeps these on, the longer we're gonna have to come up with some stupid ass reason for him to lose both of those down the road too. Or yeah, it's ridiculous. They just, it's one of those things. They're notorious for missing the boat, and they missed the boat on this. So hopefully they rectify it soon.
Did you of you?
The story was great though.
No, the story was great, but I can tell that like we're not alone in that we're getting a little tired of this bloodline thing.
Mm-hmm.
Did you catch the whats that were going on for Roman when he was talking? They weren't happening for Jay when he was talking, but every time Roman started talking, he was getting the what chance. And yes, they are the most annoying thing in professional wrestling, let's be real, but they are a way to measure a crowd. They are a way to measure if somebody's interested in something or not. Now, sometimes they're doing it just to take over the show and to be obnoxious. I get that. But this felt different. This felt like they were with Roman. Like, get on with it. Like, we're done with you. This felt a little bit like that to me. It might have. Get that. I definitely got it it was the first time I have that I took felt it more that as way.
They were just way more behind the Usos, and so they were just giving him the hard time the same way that the crowds continue to sing Seth Rollins, music like his whoa whoas in the middle of matches while he's wrestling his opponent.
It's them getting behind Seth at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I think that's how I took it, at least. I could be wrong, but that's personally how I took it.
So you took it as more them being behind the Usos than less against Roman.
Giving him heel heat in that way.
Right. I mean, you might be right. You might be right in that. I hadn't heard Roman have that in a while. And I
it's been a bit, yeah.
It's been a bit since he's had that. And then, of course, they announced that they're going to be doing, after the turn, after Jimmy J super kicked the shit out of Roman, which but all that looked great, by the way.
Yeah.
And the way Roman sold it was tremendous. It's like that guy is, for all we ever doubted him, holy shit, we were wrong. Remember those days when we were just like, he can never be the face of the company. Fuck that guy. La, 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 la. Fuck you. He's killed it, right? He's absolutely killed it. He is that guy, was that guy. They've, and yes,
he might not have been that guy back then. He's definitely gotten himself to that point.
Yes, he has. But yeah, seeing him take those like super kicks, seeing the Usos walk off, seeing all this happen, then to have it announced that, they're going to be doing the Bloodline Civil War, I guess, at Money in the Bank.
I love that name. I got to say, I love that name.
It's pretty dope. It's pretty dope.
I love it. It's easy.
Dope.
It's easy, but it sounds good.
And so, obviously, that's going to be the Usos, Jay and Jimmy, against Roman and Solo Sikoa. Sikoa, I don't know how you say it. Sikoa, close enough.
Sequoia's a tree.
Yeah, one of them. I think Sikoa's probably a tree too. They're all goddamn Samoan. They're all named after some plant or some shit. But anyway, it's gonna be them at Money in the Bank, and realistically, that'll go on last. That'll be the last match they have. There's no way it's not. At this point, there's no way it isn't. It's not gonna be the men's Money in the Bank. It's not gonna be nope. That will end the show. And it's also interesting because it sort of alludes to what we've heard rumors of. I don't know if you've heard this, but that Money in the Bank is going to definitely be, I think, a little bit more geared towards the mid-card titles or the heavyweight title that Seth has rather than Roman's. It's that was almost insinuated and said by Triple H. So we're in a position here where that clearly then, with not that belt's going to be on the line, but that champion is in a match that's going to headline that show. Now, do you see any world where the Usos don't win that match? Don't they have to win that match?
I mean, did you see any world where Cody wasn't going to win WrestleMania?
Right.
And
this is even bigger than that
to
me.
And I could see them giving us the loss here, but giving us the main event Jey Uso win down the road.
I think this is what sets. I think this is what sets
in SummerSlam or something.
I still don't think we're ever going to get the main event Jey Uso win against Roman. I really don't.
I think it'll be 2030. And we will be on the 1600 episode of this podcast, and we will still be talking about how Roman may or may not lose the title to someone.
We've been
10,000 day champion.
Yeah,
we've been doing the show about 7 years. We're at that point. It's the halfway point right now. Don't say it's not possible. 7 years ain't that goddamn long, really. But no, I think you have to kind of give the Usos a big win on this one with the Civil War thing, and I guess the question is, of course, what do you do after that? For me, it does have to be the next feud between Jay and Roman. That would be the logical step. I can see Solo distancing himself from Roman, maybe even aligning with the Usos, right? I can see that happening. Or
just put Solo with Heyman.
That could
put those two off together.
Or while you have Roman and Jay, you could just do a Solo and Jimmy.
You could. You absolutely could.
Or you could do Solo, because Solo's Solo.
Yeah. But that brings up a good question with Heyman, though. Because I think that the longer time goes on and the more that we hear that, Roman's probably going to be taking time off at some point. I mean, we've been hearing this for over a year now, so who knows? But say he finally does drop the belt, whenever it is. Even before that, I feel like Heyman needs to, that's the final, when the wise man leaves him. That will be the end, really the end of the bloodline to me. That will be the end of the, oh my God, Roman's just on his own again, right? And that will be him not having that support system that he's relied on so heavily. So
Well, maybe that's what they're kind of working towards, and they'll take the next 3 years to actually do it.
right.
But like with Jay saying so much in that storyline, like he's like, to Paul Heyman, if I'm in the bloodline,
You're
you're
not.
out, right? So they're kind of alluding to it. But then Roman had sent Paul Heyman to go talk to Jay before making that decision, right? And then when he was out there, Roman when he was talking and getting those what chants, he was saying, like, when you get on top, I was meant to take us to the promised land. He's like, he's not the bloodline's wise man. He's my wise man.
I liked that
like,
detail.
You can choose whatever wise man you want.
I
when
really
you're at the
like.
top.
Okay, I really liked that detail. Like that was a really smart. That's Paul Heyman writing for sure. Like that's like him writing himself into it, which makes it interesting because, like, what if one day you do have, Jimmy like ask for the services of Heyman like later down the road. Like that would be great, right? But you can also tell the story of what if there is another wise man that Jay can have. Like there's all sorts of layers to this that I think that you could, like, what if the fucking Rock is one of the wise men, right? Like that Jay Uso gets the support of fucking Dwayne and that becomes a thing. Never say never. Like
or hell, Rikishi
even. Exactly. Like that's his wise man. And then you can have some sort of like, situation with Heyman and Rikishi, which stink face, bro. like Heyman stink face. Yeah. Like it writes itself. There you go. But no, I was happy with it. It was one of the only things really that I was super stoked on with WWE this week. I think Money in the Bank has shaped up quietly. It's all of a sudden it's like, wow, that can be a really good pay-per-view. And we'll talk about that in length, probably next week whenever we, predict that. When is that? Is that next?
Yeah, it's a week from Saturday.
So yeah, a week from Saturday. So we'll have to do that next week, and we'll talk more about it then. But obviously, we'll talk a bit about the developments now. The cards seem pretty much set between the women's and men's matches. It's all of a sudden for me overnight gone from being like, this is LA Knight or Damian Priest's one to win to, oh, fuck, Logan Paul's going to get that briefcase, isn't he?
For sure. He's the most interesting one to get it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially if with what they're doing, like we're seeing a lot of this crossover with like NXT and stuff like that, but like trying to secure even more money and like knowing like he'll have it on his podcast. He'll fucking take it to fights,
I think I said it months ago. Months ago that he would be good with it.
They'll be good with it. I think, I don't know. I still think, I don't know, man, when LA Knight came out and he came out and walked to the ring and like started talking to them, everyone, he reminded me of like an Attitude Era Stone Cold or Rock, like the way he carried and the way he said everything, and like the crowd was just so behind him and loud and they were completely with him. Maybe you could end up.
I would make the argument at this point. I would make the argument at this point that LA Knight would almost be hindered by that briefcase, that he might be better off without it, because I think that he's going to be able to get a better push without it. And that tool can be used more effectively in the hands of somebody that's actually a part-timer. I heard this argument made the other day that sometimes, and it's right, because sometimes that briefcase is annoying to see every week when they're not using it and challenging it. They're just, the heel is throwing it up in the face, right? But if it's a part-timer that can show up like, every couple months or every month, just, not every week, not be in there every week with it, and it's like once a month or something like that with a Logan Paul, it actually makes more sense. Because it actually makes more sense, and it would make it feel more important that, oh my God, there's a big championship match tonight and he just showed up. What if he even if he doesn't cash in, it's the what if he did. So I think that putting it on Logan Paul is is actually a really, really smart move. He's then going to have to go probably after the United States title. It ain't going to be they ain't going to be no Gunther IC title. Like, because it's either that or it's Rollins, right? It's either you go after the
Rollins.
US or
For me, it's Rollins.
It's probably Rollins. It's probably
because that's
and they've
the
got
threat,
history.
right?
They've got history. Yeah.
That's the threat. We're all sitting there talking about how tired we are of Roman Reigns being champion, right? And how long it's been. And we have Seth Rollins, this workhorse, who's going to be like, I'm going to defend the championship every show. I'm going to be there. And the threat looming of a Logan Paul, another Roman Reigns like part-timer guy.
Yeah, exactly. Now we've just got a work rate champion, somebody that can and now we're gonna get this fucking part-time jabroni who's a YouTube star that doesn't,
which would be fantastic.
The heat that you get on that
fuck Logan Paul, but I'm loving it.
No, it is smart. It is smart.
I'm digging it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Like I guess I don't love it, but I don't love it for the right reasons. You know, exactly. I like and I can see what it is, and that's fine. It's just, it's I think it's better than putting it on Bad Bunny, who is their like celebrity face. Like we've got, and that's what's interesting right now is we've got a celebrity heel and a celebrity face working in the company, sort of side by side. Like they're both doing shit, and I think it's the first time that's ever happened. And I do think that eventually the two need to have that clash. Like I think that will have to happen. Like I think that I mean, that's a WrestleMania match, Bad Bunny and Logan Paul. Like it's a WrestleMania match. Like no matter how much you don't want to like it, it is, and it'll probably fucking rule.
And the amount of non-wrestling fans who'd probably tune in to watch that.
That's the point. That's the point.
Yeah,
that's why you do it. That's exactly why you do it. What did you guys think of this whole development with AJ Styles and Karrion Kross? I love Matthew. Matthew has been silent for a while, and he has definitely been silent. He has no reaction to this one.
I have no reaction. I do not like Karrion Kross and Scarlett, and I think they're spooky for no fucking reason. They have done nothing to develop what they're supposed to be about or anything.
She's kind of a smoke show, though, bro. She's kind of a smoke show.
They're boring as fuck. That doesn't do anything for me.
I don't know how
they do nothing for me.
I don't know how you can be that much of a smoke show of a couple and be that boring. I don't know how it's possible, but both of them managed to do it. Both of them somehow did that.
I like her hitting on AJ and AJ ripping off his glove and
I'm married, bitch.
I'm married, bitch. Like,
yes.
Beautiful.
It was it was stupid, but I kind of did enjoy it. It
was a replay of the spot that he did with sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you with who is the girl with Mike Bennett.
Mike Bennett,
Maria
Kanellis.
Yeah, they did that spot in New Japan with AJ Styles and
Maria.
And Maria, yeah, where she was like kind of putting him in a trance, and so I wonder if it was a callback to that, but I still loved it. It was a good spot.
You don't get it, and now she's sort of misting. It wasn't a mist; it was more of a dust, like a red dust type thing.
Angel dust.
I don't know.
PCP.
I feel bad for AJ. Like, I mean, like this should be a Doc Gallows feud somehow. Like Doc Gallows and can he not? I don't know. Get rid of that. But I don't,
because they're still AJ's still trying to put over what's her name.
So I'm gonna say something.
Michin.
Yeah. Michin. Yeah. That's what we call her now.
They're trying with that one, and I guess they're trying to do the same with Scarlett and Cross. So they're trying to like do all of them. Like, don't do all of them at once. That's not gonna work. I'm gonna be controversial and say right here, right now, fucking Cross needs to shave his head again.
Yeah.
He needs to shave his head again.
He looks like a Las Vegas magician right now.
He looks weird with the hair.
And like in in the Society of Wizards with like Joe Bluth.
They could just
and
put
all
the
that, like the
they could just put the helmet back on him.
oh god,
That would solve it too.
But that's kind of what killed him, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
he actually did come up from NXT with some good momentum. In NXT, he was doing great.
I was
the
never a
thing
huge
worked.
fan of him at that point. I saw him live, and I got to
wasn't
tell
either,
you,
but it worked.
but it was working. Like, I can
Yeah.
tell you that I wasn't a huge fan of it. It wasn't for me, but it was working, and that gimmick was like over as shit, and he was brutal. I will give him that. He was brutal as hell. He made that work, and he's not done any of that on the main roster. He's coming across and this says something. Man, this is second-rate Wyatt shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so they gave up on that, right?
That's a good point. They kind of did, didn't they?
They just kind of like,
It's just
okay,
kind of gone.
all right. We're not even going to try and keep this going while somebody's got because it sounded like he had a minor injury or some shit. I don't know, man. This been a while now, and you're not done a single vignette. You've not done anything to kind of keep going with that. Nope, you just Uncle Howdy fell off a thing, I think, and that was.
They were going to do the Lashley match at WrestleMania, then that never materialized. And
Yeah. I think, wasn't it his last match was the Mountain Dew match?
Yeah.
That was.
Which was like the only match he had done since he got back.
That's
Yeah.
right, the
No, I think he
Mountain
didn't
Dew
have
match.
one match. Did he have one more?
He did some house shows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Not on TV, probably. Yeah, or
Because we were all
The
like, all
one
right,
match?
we get it. Like, you just keep talking. It was like CM Punk. You come out every week and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's the same shit.
Yeah, this cryptic bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, go do your horror movies or whatever. They're probably going to suck too. Or maybe that's a better medium for what you're trying to tell.
everything's
Like, maybe it is.
everything's okay in WWE though, because Baron Corbin is in like 4 feuds right now, and
Right.
and he's got it going on with like everyone. By 4 I mean 2. But now, like, he is mad at everyone. He's down there over in NXT with Carmelo Hayes getting like title shots and shit. I hope he wins it. Like, he won't, but I hope he does. But now he's on the main roster, and he's like beating up Cameron Grimes for reasons. Like, he's just like, yeah, hey, Cameron Grimes, you just got called up. I'm gonna be mean to you. Like, and he's picking.
A bully.
Yeah, he's a bully. He's bullying Cameron Grimes, and I kind of like that. I kind of actually want to see Baron Corbin, Cameron Grimes, tag team, money belt shit. Like, give me money stuff. Cameron Grimes, Baron Corbin. Bet you money that's what they're doing.
God, for the $1 million belt.
Yes,
I mean,
$1
that would
million
be-
belted up.
Oh,
Yeah,
jeez.
they beat up LA Knight to take that belt back just because Baron Corbin wants it. That's what they should do. I mean, is it more interesting than what's going on? Yes. So do that.
Yep.
Then we got like Pretty Deadly's doing stuff now. They're up there. They're getting like title shots against.
They're on TV a lot.
Yeah.
They're really behind him.
Yeah, someone's behind him. Trips is like, they won that whole like gauntlet match, right? There was a gauntlet, and it looked like Ridge and Sheamus were gonna win it, and then they got the sneaky win at the end, and yeah.
It's a shame that Tyler Breeze is no longer active in the company,
Yeah.
because I
He
think
can
him with Pretty Deadly would be a great trio.
What a man!
I really
Like,
would.
even if you just managed them and just occasionally took a
Yeah.
bump, like, that would be perfect. Like, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Like, the whole gimmick is almost based on them. You could do that. The one big question too, like, I had with the tag team division is, well, what are we doing with Hit Row, and why
Yeah.
are they ever on my television? Like, this
All they
is,
do is lose.
they're not. Yeah, I get it. You maybe want some like urban Hit Rowy type dudes on there. I get that. Like, let's get some black dudes in in some tag teams and factions. Get it. Totally get it. Let's get some urban, I know I'm sounding racist, but it's the truth. That's the way they think. But they're not doing anything to promote them in the right way. All they do, like you said, is
they do
lose,
lose,
and
yeah.
they suck.
Yeah, and Michael Cole talks shit about Top Dollar whenever he's on SmackDown.
Maybe that's the only reason they're on there is because Michael Cole is this sadistic fuck and just needs to get them on the so he can finally just like rag on somebody. He's just like
Maybe,
because I kind of like it if it is Michael
I
Cole
do kind of like it. Yeah.
They're really weak without Swerve. I mean, when they had Swerve,
It should have ended it then.
Completely different.
It was
it's
over.
It's a shame. And honestly, I can't say Swerve is much better at AEW than he was in a much better place than he was in the WWE.
I'd argue that. I'd argue that.
Would you? Because
yes.
I think if until Vince came in and kind of fucked all that up, I think that faction would have been pretty big with Swerve in the WWE.
I don't think it was. I think maybe the faction that Swerve is in AEW is less to be desired, but his actual role, like think about the high profile matches. Think about what he just had with the International Championship. Think about what he just had
Cassidy,
like with all that stuff. I think he's in a much better position on weekly television. He also has had yes, you can argue that it's gone way too long with Keith Lee, but him and Keith Lee have had this long thing going.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about that. They're going to get back together as a tag team and they're going to rule. Mm-hmm. Like they'll have it's going to eventually happen. And
Keith Lee will be full Count Chocula by
then. Yeah. But I think they can make things happen with that, right? They're going to have some great matches together when they finally start to blow it off, but I think Keith Lee will eventually help take over that mogul like enterprises thing and make Swerve realize that these guys are jabronis. Like that's I think that's maybe the point of half of that is that Keith Lee takes that back over. But anyway, I think that you still have a chance. You have people not even a month or two ago saying, I think it could be Swerve to take it off MJF. You literally had that. You didn't have people on the WWE side when Swerve was there saying you could have him take it off Roman.
No, that's a good point. I just feel like his trajectory, but you've actually made a valid argument for, and I do concede that. What I think you're right though, and coming back to your original point is Hit Row in this whole thing is the victim. I mean, they've been completely lost in the shuffle because he just couldn't. They're just nothing without Swerve. They're just they're a joke. Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, they needed to instantly correct that, and they didn't, and they should have disbanded the whole group, completely altogether. But that means you're firing all those guys again. So
fuck it. Put like the exact opposite of Swerve there. Let's get Bob Backlund.
Oh, that'd be good. That'd be good. Yeah. I'm Hit Row. Like, just. I kind of dig that. Now I want to see that.
Yeah, I do too. To be honest.
We got Damage Control breaking up before our eyes.
Yep.
Clearly, neither of them are gonna win that Money in the Bank, match because they're gonna implode Bailey and Io Sky, right?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, they've been slow burning that for a while. It needs to happen. And what Dakota's she's injured, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think so. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
she's injured. So who takes the women's then?
Who else we got in there?
Well, we got Trish that just like put herself in, right? Wasn't that the thing that happened like this past week? She put herself in.
Oh, and Becky's in.
Becky's in. Zelina Vega. We got Io Sky, Bailey, Becky, Zelina Vega,
Trish.
I'm
Trish,
getting the card pulled up here.
And
all right, it is.
I'm missing like one.
Yeah. Where is it?
Because we got Charlotte back, and now we got
All right, so it's Zelina Vega, Becky Lynch, Zoe Stark, Bailey, Io Sky, Trish Stratus, which makes me think that they'll end up Trish and Zoe and
Zoe's gonna
Becky
win it.
will do.
Zoe will win it.
I could see them doing. I can even see them putting on Trish. I mean, just a heel with it is probably the way to go.
But
Like I can't see any of those other people winning it realistically.
it's a quick way to put Zoe over to a new audience, get her a lot of TV time. Like I think,
Yeah.
if I'm a betting man right now, I'm going Zoe Stark probably winning that thing. I want it to be Zelina Vega, to be honest with you, but
Yes.
but that's just me. I don't think that happens, but I would love to see it happen. I have no interest in this Bianca Charlotte stuff that's happening either.
Yeah,
like
it's rough. There's no chemistry between the two. Like
No.
when they're talking in the ring, it's so incredibly awkward to watch.
Well, talk about
Past
scripting.
Friday, that Grayson Waller like before
Oh my
Bianca
God.
came out, that was awkward. Him and Charlotte, that was
Yes.
super bad. And again, they'll never change Charlotte, her character, but like I just don't like the character. I respect her for what she's done for wrestling and the matches she's had and such, but I am so bored with Charlotte Flair. Even when she comes back just for a little bit, like she did last time, it's like you always, and that is the story they're telling. So, maybe that's part of it.
You know
but,
what she needs? I'm gonna call it. She needs a good old fashioned drunk gimmick. Play up on the fact that Ric Flair, her dad, a bit of a fucking lush, right? So she becomes a bit of a lush. She's like fucking. You know how they did this a while back? They did it with Hawk, and they've done it in the past where they make fun of Jake the Snake for being like a drunk. And then you do it with Charlotte, where she's just like too good, but she's like partying too much and stuff, and but she's doing she's too much of a Flair, and so she just gets too drunk, and then she goes to a dark phase, right? And she's wearing all black, and she's looking all shitty, wearing leather jackets and shit, and being pissed off, and like maybe even her hair is like starting she doesn't dye it black, but like. The brown starts coming through her dyed blonde hair, and like she's got that kind of thing going on. And she looks like a bit of a mess. And then then we got to get Rick to come out and like shake her up and then get her back to form. And then she's like got a whole year-long story arc of not being anywhere near a title picture and having an interesting story of being fucked up and drunk.
I like that. She would never do it because
She would
she
never,
spent so much time and money on working out and getting things done to her body to be perfect, in the way that she sees it. But I don't. I kind of like what you're saying. They would never do it in WWE.
Here's what
but
I
she
would
could
do,
start,
too.
She could start smoking.
Yeah.
Flair's weed.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen him on Instagram. He's like in restaurants, like smoking weed out in the open and stuff.
Have her
Just
smoke one of those like female cigars to the ring too. Just have her smoke a cigar to the ring, like kind of like how I used to love when the Giant used to just smoke cigarettes to the ring, like a fucking asshole. Like that was the coolest shit ever. Like do that with like her, and then there's a way you can turn her cool. Just turn her cool. Like make her like like fucking so disgusting and like a biker chick almost. Like that's the way I would go with it. Like fucking have her do that. Like be like despisable. And then you know what you have her do too is you have her, since Andrade just used the figure 8 last week on Buddy Matthews, you know what she starts doing? His fucking spinning elbow as her finisher.
There you go.
Fucking, that's it. Fucking, and she's just like, she doesn't even care anymore. She's like, she wrestles like she doesn't care. Like, because she's so good, she doesn't have to, and she can just like, she's changed her style to like, just like clobbering people and shit instead of being a technical wrestler. I think it'd be fucking dope.
Give her
all
Bobby
in.
Lashley's entrance.
Yeah.
Where she has spotlights on her and she's like,
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom.
See, this is
Yeah,
Jay.
dude, I'd dig
gets
that.
it.
Saturday, they just announced for Collision Swerve versus Tanahashi.
Oh,
Brody King versus Andrade El Idolo.
Who was the second one? What was that?
Brody and Andrade.
Brody and Andrade? That's a match. So they're totally setting up House of Black trios versus an Aglables or however you say it, right? Like whatever their current. Yeah. So it's probably going to be Andrade, Draglistico, and Roosh.
Yeah.
That's what I would assume. But you can throw in Preston Vance if Roosh isn't around. You can throw that in there too, and that's going to be the next trios feud. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing, and that's fine. I can see them throwing that trios belt on them. It would make sense. Seems a little early with the House of Black, but is that working for you guys? Like,
they don't need the belts.
I don't need,
but they do elevate the belts because whoever wins the belts off of them are going to be that much better. So,
yeah.
And I think they need to be sneaky as fuck. Whoever wins it needs to be sneaky to win. So it's good that it would be Andrade and his crew.
Yeah.
Because we're talking heel right there, you know? Like, if we're doing that, and I think it's better that in that weird, I think that's better that way because it weirdly protects Malachi and the House of Black.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It does. There'd definitely be a stronger trios to lose against. I can't think of any other trios right now.
Well, I'd put there, you know. If they weren't in a current feud, I was hoping that the Elite BCC shit would be like over by now, but it's not.
Right.
But I love the BCC idea with the trios.
Yeah.
Like having Claudio, Mox, and Yuta with those titles would, I think, fucking rule because it keeps Mox out of a title. Like it keeps all of them out of like big, huge top programs because they need to not be in one for a while. Mox has been in a ton, and like, you know what I mean? Like it keeps them keep them on TV all the time, but maybe that's the next opponent, you know, for the, Andrade's crew. I don't
know. Yeah. Which, by the way, I would love to see Marina Shafir put with the BCC. I don't know why I keep in my head, I keep putting those two together. Like, she's totally got that same kind of attitude. Like, because they need, I'd like to see them with a girl, like, or with a woman. It makes it's.
She's married to Roddy Strong, right? She's married to Roddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would work. What about, okay, hear me out. Not her. What was her name? Real Russian chick, real short.
Oh, God.
She got injured. And
yes.
She was starting to like, oh my God, she was awesome in the early days of AEW.
Yeah, she was injured. Like 5 feet tall, and she had some good matches with Statlander, and
she did. I think she had because she's Russian, she definitely had some maybe questionable opinions about how we view the Ukraine situation. There was some stuff that kind of brewed up with that. I hope that wasn't too.
I think she got injured. I think that was
that was the main thing. But we haven't heard a lick.
Layla
Hirsch.
Layla Hirsch. Yes.
Layla Hirsch with the BCC.
Legit Layla Hirsch.
She would work.
That would work too.
She would work.
Yeah.
She would work. Yeah. But Marina Shafir that's a good shout. That's a real good shout for that. Yeah, I can see that working too. Because they don't do much with her.
They did just announce quite a few things.
Okay.
For the rest of this week for AEW. I know we were talking about, but they are trying to stack Rampage, obviously. So they announced Chaos versus United Empire and Swerve Strickland.
Oh, nice.
Yep. So then they announced MJF's first appearance ever on Rampage.
Making him do shit.
Yep. And then they announced, obviously, the Acclaimed will be in action. They announced Adam Cole. They announced Tony Storm and Willow for the AEW Women's Championship at Forbidden Door.
Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so what was it? Tony Storm and Willow?
Yep.
For the AEW. I mean, I called that match. It said that was going to happen.
It's going to win.
He did.
Yeah, Tony, right? Like.
Yep.
Tony.
I'm just going to be different because I will never bet against Willow ever.
You're going to go Willow?
Yeah, I'm never betting against Willow. It's just.
I want you to be right.
It's in my DNA, and I want to be right too. I just can never bet against Willow.
That's
ever.
fair. That's fair.
There you
So
go.
Tony Willow on that. What do we have? Any other
And like
Forbidden
I said,
Door
Collision,
matches?
we had Swerve and Tanahashi. Christian Cage is going to address the TNT title on Collision. Then we are going to have Orange Cassidy and Daniel Garcia versus Shibata and what's his name? What is it?
Not ZSJ.
Yeah.
Again? So they're going to do that again? Like
they're going to do that again at Forbidden Door.
So they're doing that whole match again.
Yeah, but it's an AEW. I think it's a 4-way because at the end of tonight, all 4 of them have their hand
so
on the belt.
It's a 4-way.
So it's for the AEW International Championship.
Okay. So if we're going back to the original thing, do you? I'm still going with OC on that 4-way match. Matthew, you went Zack Sabre Jr. Jay, you went OC. Do you still got? Do you keep that the same? I'm keeping mine.
I'm still going OC.
Yeah,
because I love the story of him
to OC
being...
because now I'm looking at the graphic and like the only one who doesn't have a title right now is Daniel Garcia. Orange Cassidy has the AEW International. Shibata has the ROH Pure, and Zack Sabre Jr. has the New Japan World TV.
So now you're changing it to Garcia? Is that what you're thinking?
No, to Orange Cassidy.
Oh, you're changing it from Zack Sabre Jr. to Orange Cassidy.
Yep.
All right. There it is.
I love the story they're telling with Orange Cassidy. Just him getting run down. Great. How the hell is this man defending this every week?
I would love it if they found out he was taking steroids or something, but just not getting big. Like, he was
juicing.
He's juicing.
Oh, and you said we had,
and then we have the CM Punk, match,
and then we have the CM Punk match, which he'll win. So, I'm putting Punk on that one. Jay, you doing the same?
Sorry, which one? Punk versus who?
Koji.
Oh yeah, Punk.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Some Japanese name. Yep, going with Punk. So that puts it to what, 7 matches? Yeah, 7 matches on the card. All of a sudden they
pretty healthy.
Yeah,
Not
pretty.
bad.
They don't need any more now. They don't need any more. Like this is
Stop there.
That's stop there. Maybe you could throw in a pre-show, whatever. But no, that's enough. That's good to go. That's good to go. Especially if you want to give like Will and Kenny sometime. If you want to give, Danielson Okada sometime. Like you've got to not stack the card too hard, and who knows if MJF even shows up, right? So unless Willow wins the match, I will win. I'm just letting you guys know that right now, because we all have the same predictions, apart from Jay with Willow on the women's match.
Can't bet against Willow. Just can't, man.
Just letting you know that you got no chance, Matthew. So just letting you know that.
Well, fucking wrestling promoters book some shit that's interesting that maybe makes us not know what's gonna happen.
It is a problem. It is definitely a problem sometimes. Let's talk about this though. I want
good matches though. So.
I think they're gonna be great, and I think
end of the day they will be good matches.
I did, fucking A. GCW did Nick Gage and Zack Sabre Jr. And I need to see that because it's so differing in styles. The most technical wrestler on the planet, the best technical wrestler on the planet. Oh yeah, Nick Gage. Yes, versus
and the most hardcore Zack Sabre Jr.
Exactly. No, I have to find a way to see that. I'm definitely going to be looking into that. I haven't seen it, but that sounds amazing. I also keep hearing stuff about this, Forbidden Door video game that's coming out, and it's great because I've heard that are including botches in the video.
Oh,
game.
Fight Forever, you mean?
Fight. What did I say?
Forbidden Door.
Forbidden Door video game.
Yeah, that's the second video game. It's the Japanese variant. No, Fight Forever, the video game, is apparently going to include some botches, including a exploding barbed wire death match botch where at the end of it, you can choose, I guess, or at the beginning of the match, you can choose, do I want Big Boom or do I want Little
Fizzle.
boom. Fizzle. Yeah, whatever they call it. I think it's
I actually saw a video of this earlier. It was hilarious.
You've seen the fizzle? I've not seen the fizzle.
It's hilarious. I mean,
That's
it
great.
looks absolutely amazing. And the mechanics of it look great too. You know, it doesn't look like it's gonna be as technically deep as like a WWE 2K23, but it has just the right amount of arcadey feel to it, to where it's one of those games where you just get stoned and play and just laugh your ass off.
Yeah, it's
for
what it
hours
needs
and
to
hours.
be. It's what it
So,
needs to be. It's what
There's
it
mini
needs to
games
be.
in it too, like little racing mini games and baseball
Baseball,
mini
I've
games.
seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Darby
Dude,
Allin Pro Skater.
Oh yeah, I think everybody's been saying like you can make anybody actually use a skateboard and skate around.
that's pretty cool.
And that might be one of like the hidden things like that you can sort of Tony Hawk around the bitch. Like it's like and that does seem pretty amazing. Real quick, let's just talk about how we've got this whole thing brewing now with Finn Balor and Seth Rollins on NXT. That's great. Like I think that can be a great feud to really move forward that heavyweight belt, and cool that they did some of it on NXT to bring it to the main roster, and that's what they should be doing. Like that's a great usage of that belt to take it somewhere, to have it defended against Braun Breaker where Seth Rollins wins, and then to have, well, because of, you know, I guess Finn Balor costing him the match or whatever the fuck, but to then use Finn Balor in that scenario so that now we can have the original Universal Championship match all over again for the heavyweight title with Finn Balor, Seth Rollins. I think it's great. You know, even if Finn doesn't win it, it's a smart move. It's a real smart move.
Finn's attack on Seth was pretty brutal on Monday.
Yeah.
I mean, he did like 3 curb stomps on him, running curb stomps too, which I thought all looked really good. So I thought they did a good job setting that matchup going into Tuesday, and I look forward to this feud.
Yeah, it's and I don't think this is going to be a one and done by any means. I think this is going to be one that they stretch out. I think especially because of the Judgment Day, you know, like that we've got such a hot thing going on with that, and you know, they've sort of convinced me, not right now, but in a couple months, I wouldn't be mad if Finn's the one to take that off Seth. Like it seems like that would be the logical decision of the guy to take it off Seth. So, you know, Matthew, no?
Yeah, you could, and then you could implode Judgment Day a little bit by having Priest and Finn go after each other, right? I wouldn't hate that.
Last question of the night, and it kind of ties into what the chat room is asking. Do y'all think AEW will be able to sustain a 3-hour TV show a week? And first off, that's one question, but I think it ties into what I've generally been concerned about, and it's a double question, right? Because will they be able to sustain? Well, it's not 3 hours a week; it's 5 hours a week. Will they be able to gather, based on what we've seen with one episode of Collision, will they be able to gather a greater audience based upon this Saturday show? Which, of course, CM Punk is at the helm of, the Island of Misfit Toys, all things different than Dynamite. My initial reaction to this is fuck no. I don't think that this is going to move the needle. And I love AEW. I want it to. But I don't think it's gonna. I
don't think they expected it to.
I don't think they did either. I don't think that was the
Warner
purpose.
execs had said that like this was like AEW, they've very clearly in statements and when they announced Collision said this is another program for hardcore wrestling fans.
Yeah.
I
can't
clearly stated that.
I will ditch watching. I really don't watch SmackDown anyway, to be honest with you. I'll catch highlights if I'm at the house, I'll throw it on here and there, but it's not a regular appointment viewing. Rampage is the same. Honestly, Collision is probably going to be exactly the same as that. I try
And
and
that's
make
what they're trying to fight against that. They're trying to make sure that doesn't happen. But how do they do that?
Well, they haven't
That's the
convinced me
question.
yet. They haven't convinced
Yeah.
me yet. And I'll say this too. No one's talked about this. Collision's debut did worse than Dynamite's debut in the ratings.
Oh wow. Did it do worse than Rampage's debut?
It might have, actually.
Because that was also Punk's
that was Punk's
time back,
first,
yeah.
and it was the first episode of,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't the first episode of Rampage. Was it?
Yeah, it was.
Was it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, not great signs. I mean, again, TNT, TBS, Warner, they're probably going to be super happy with what they got on this because it's easy. It's good numbers for their time slot. Is it getting more people into the product? No. Will
Yeah,
it?
and I don't know if it will. Yeah.
Will it survive? Will they be able to sustain it? Yes. So it's for me, I think it's a layered question. It's a layered answer as well. In some ways, they are going to be able to sustain it, but they're going to be happy with 5 to 6, like we talked earlier, 4 or 5, 600,000 on a Saturday at 8 o'clock. They're going to be fine with.
Yep.
If they can continue that, and then they can, and if they can continue even 300,000, 300,000, which they're getting already on Rampage. Rampage was up this past week, weirdly. Like, Rampage had like a big bump, a 50% bump. It went up to 450,000. So it might even lead into more people watching Rampage. I don't know how that happens, but it could possibly do that. It was also a really good Rampage card.
Raw was
And
the
no
number one-
competition.
Raw was the #1 show watched on TV on Monday.
So wrestling in general is hot.
Yeah.
If there's any way to capitalize on it or any time to capitalize on it, it's right now. Don't think it's going to bring in a new audience, but Collision has I do think this. Collision might have a better shot of bringing in the WWE audience from what we've seen with one episode than Dynamite.
Right.
I will say that if you had a guy that was a diehard WWE fan and kind of was just like, I really haven't gotten into the AEW thing, I think I would show him Collision before I would show him Dynamite. That's after one episode. But I think that you might be able to convert some people there because you're going to have some familiar faces and you're going to have CM Punk and you're going to have a production that looks a bit more WWE and big time. That alone might be the thing that does it, and it might just get that extra 100,000 views that they need.
Yeah. I will say, so you were right. So Collision averaged 816,000 viewers. The first episode, the number is lower. So the June 14th episode of Dynamite drew 832. So it was down from just a tiny bit from Dynamite. Rampage last week drew 423. You were dead on with that. I will say the first episode of Rampage was not the Punk. Punk was the second week.
Oh, I thought it was.
Second week. I always
the
get
debut episode was August 13th, 2021. It had 740,000 people tune in, and then the first dance, which was a week later, which was the CM Punk one, that was 1.1 million.
I knew that was over
a
million. Yeah,
and then let's see, the stage or number from the premiere drew 328.
I want to say
never mind.
I was curious about the very, very first episode of Dynamite. I want to say that was between 800,000 and 900,000. It didn't crack 1 million. I'm almost certain it didn't because it was a big deal down the road when it finally did crack 1 million. I remember it I think the top it's ever gotten to was
1.4 million.
Was it 1.4 the top?
It's the record viewing for the company.
For the first ever one?
1.4 million.
Yeah, so that did better than Collision. So all I'm going to say is that it's CM Punk's still a draw, don't get me wrong, but
he didn't draw 1 million though.
But he didn't.
Yep.
Like he did his first time on the first dance.
Exactly. So it's just something to think about. Guys, is there anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
I have one thing. I just want to tell you that I got myself through the podcast Behind the Bastards on Vince McMahon. All like,
I've got
nice.
one more. I've got one
six-
more
I
episode.
listened to all 6.5, 7 hours
Oh,
of it,
wow.
all 6 episodes. It was good. As a wrestling fan, I enjoyed like the first episode. They didn't really talk about Vince McMahon. It was more a lot of the history of wrestling and like WWE and stuff like
They
that. The
missed
first,
a couple things. They messed up
a couple, but like,
but it was fine.
But like,
It was
what
good, yeah.
they gave a good enough background to kind of like say that like he grew up in this weird kind of shitty family-ish
Yes.
type of like didn't really know, and then he like really wanted in seniors approval, all that sort of stuff. It was very, very interesting. The last episode is obviously heartbreaking because they end on Owen Hart. So there's just a
Right,
lot there.
right.
But I'd never listened to that podcast until you mentioned on the podcast, a few weeks ago, and
Yeah.
said that you were throwing some stuff out there. So I was like, I gotta give it a listen. So over the last week,
It's
did, an
binge
episode a
listening,
day.
isn't it? Yeah, like you
It was an
kinda-
episode a day.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
like while I was like doing shit around the house or getting ready in the morning or at night, just like that sort of stuff. But it was good. So good shout. I would tell anyone listening, if you got some time, go listen to it, especially as a wrestling fan.
Behind the
It's
Bastards podcast, and especially
Yeah.
the six-part series with Vince McMahon.
6-part series on Vince
And
McMahon, which they could have kept going.
The only other person they've ever done a 6-part series on was Henry Kissinger. So it
Yeah.
just tells you how
Yeah.
evil Vince McMahon is.
I
It's just
did.
crazy.
Just reminding me because we're talking about this. I'm caught up with all of Dark Side this season. Dark Side
Yep.
of the Ring.
Dark Side's been great.
Last Dark Side has been great this year. I mean, hell, the Grahams and jeez, like
that
that's
was rough.
just that's real rough. But last night they did the episode on what happened to Doink the Clown, and it. I always knew that Matt Bourne or Matt Osborne probably a bit of a piece of shit. Like did kind, like from everything I've ever heard, and it really doesn't dissuade me from feeling that same exact way. And the one big thing is like he was in a trios team years and years and years ago called the Rat Pack with Ted DiBiase and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. They were a heel.
Interesting.
They were a heel trio. Think about that. Matt Bourne, Doink the Clown, with Hacksaw
As
Jim
Doink,
Duggan.
he
Yeah,
was-
no, he
oh
was.
my God.
He was definitely not.
With
He was
Hacksaw
definitely
Jim
not.
Duggan.
Right. So like something happened like early on in their career where Matt and Hacksaw kind of like did not like each other. And Hacksaw, like, throughout the years, is like, why does this guy hate me? Like, and for all intents and purposes, I have never seen a single interview with Hacksaw or read anything negative about him. He's like one of the nicest human beings. He's kind of Mick Foley-esque, right? He's got a, I'm sure he probably did nasty wrestler shit like they all did back in the day. But Hacksaw is just like a nice dude.
Mm-hmm.
30 years after like they were in the ring together, like they're all washed up. They're in some, like there's footage of this. It's in Dark Side and it's so bizarre. Matt Osborne like decides he's going to go off script essentially. And he's like they're in the ring and Hacksaw's like, all right, do you want to work or are we about to shoot? Like, because like he was getting like he was fucked up. Like Doink and Matt Bourne, whatever. He was fucked up. And he was trying to just bash him with a like chair when it was like this was not part of like at all the match or the finish or anything. And Hacksaw like ducks out of the ring and like legitimately grabs his 2x4 to crack him. And like they're in the ring and he's just like, are we gonna go? Like, and finally I know there's the whole thing that started that was Doink or Matt Osborne doing a straight up like low blow that was not supposed to be there in the match to Hacksaw. Like fucking like, and that's what started the whole thing. And eventually he runs off like a little bitch, and goes and runs to his car. I looked at him, I looked at Hacksaw, and I'm like, both of them are big, tough motherfuckers, but I would not fuck with Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Mm-mm.
Jim, Hacksaw Duggan, like, back in the day too, like that was a beefy boy.
Mhm.
And yeah, go watch that. It's on Vice, or you can probably find it on YouTube or whatever. But that's interesting that, like, out of all the people, it kind of shows you how much of a piece of shit he was, because don't talk shit to Hacksaw. Like that's not. Oh,
You know, I saw him fight Andre the Giant at the Denver Coliseum in like 1984.
oh
My
man.
first house show I ever went to. For years, I thought it was Hulk Hogan that he fought, and then I looked up the card and I was like, "Oh no, it was Jim Duggan, of
Jim
course."
Duggan, man. I was -2 in 1984.
Yeah, I would have been 7. So that was right when I was
I was
starting
0.
my wrestling. Yeah.
You were straight 0.
I'm straight 0.
Oh, guys, it's been a good night. It's been a great show.
Excellent chat. Yeah.
And yeah. Unless Willow's your only shot for
Dude,
predictions this week.
Don't bet against Willow.
No,
Don't bet against Willow.
you know what? I'll probably end up like swallowing my words now, because she is my girl too. Like that would.
She's everybody's girl.
Yeah, I love her so much.
You
She's
know
the
what?
best.
I know I can't take the. But can I just change it to be
You're just
different?
gonna change it to Willow?
Can I? Yeah.
Are you
And
gonna
I'm
go Willow
no,
too?
No. I'm gonna change it to Daniel Garcia to be that different.
Oh, gonna be.
Ooh,
Oh, so that
look
would
at
be.
you. Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
All right.
Interesting.
I don't think
yeah.
it's gonna happen, but you know, come hell or high water, I might walk out of Forbidden Door the champion if that happens, which it won't.
Well, one of us is
Willow
going
might have
to.
a better chance
That-
of winning.
That isn't actually a terrible guess. That isn't actually a terrible guess. I would say if it's not one of the other, if it's not OC, I think Daniel
That's
Garcia.
where my mind
I
just went
think
with
Daniel
it. I was like,
Garcia would
you
be.
would keep it in
yeah,
AEW.
Yeah. I think that you might be. That's not a terrible choice. It's not a
See it.
terrible choice.
And Orange doesn't have to lose clean.
No,
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's how they do it. Ah, boys, let's get the hell out of here. Thank you for listening, everybody, on the twitch.tv/ONRS live. Thank you for listening on the podcast, OhNoWrestling.com, or wherever you find your podcasts. Just look for Oh No Wrestling. That's OHNO Wrestling. 407-906-6466. If you ever want to leave us a voicemail, find our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/OhNo Wrestling. Patreon.com/ONRS if you ever want to give us a couple of extra bucks. And boys, let's give them a big old woo as we get out of here. Woo!